Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 370th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call, we have Andy Patterson and Ozzy Smith. Welcome to you all in the chat, listening at home. We go live on YouTube again now, 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. You might be listening to us during the week on SoundCloud, iTunes, or Spotify. Episode 370, we're flying through the year. No boxing to talk about. We always find something, Andy. How are you, first of all, in lockdown? We had an interesting chat last week. How's things going? Still sane, I see?
I got a wee bit of sunburn today, actually. Went out for a nice wee wander. A good couple of hours out playing football and stuff like that, Kind of like make sure I got my distance and stuff, and then sat out the back for a couple of beers. Nothing strenuous, fights. We watched a few things on Amazon Prime and Netflix and stuff. I shouldn't do it, actually, but it's probably kind of a testament to my lack of focus sometimes that I go through, some like TV series and that, but I can't watch one without going through maybe start another series or go to another series and that. So I'm watching Homeland again with that Israeli-Palestinian series that Fauda, I think it's called, and I just finished. Well, I'm almost finishing Treadstone just now. So yeah, I'm all over the place just now trying to watch TV series and keep myself busy and stuff like that. So between that, boxing, and the kids, we're all good here. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not too bad at all, thanks, Andy. I've been watching a few bits and pieces. Main one, Canelo Golovkin 2, which Ben Thorne's put us on to during the week. I know you've watched it as well. We'll hopefully have a bit of a chat later on about that particular fight, how we scored it, who won, ramifications and that. We've got a lot of other things to talk about as well. A couple of guests lined up. Ozzy's on the call with us. How are you, Ozzy? What have you been up to during the week?
Not much, mate. Still at work, so working from home. Buzzing yesterday, got another 3 crates of Heineken at £7 a piece, 12 bottles. So if the deal's on at Asda, get involved now. Not watched much, to be honest. Been out and about, quite nice. So taking advantage of the warm weather out on the bike. Just relaxing, all you can do really. Weather's supposed to take a turn this week, so that's when I'll go back to Netflix and watching fights online and things like that. But while it's nice, it's good to be outside and get air.
Yep, go and get yourself a bit of fresh air. No fights, hopefully, in the streets. Talking of the streets, the boys are in the chat here. Take Ames is knocking about. GB Boxing, Tosh Bear, Kaiser Cobra. Let's flick up the chat, shall we? We don't do this very often. Chris Bray is there. Apologies if I don't see Joe Kennedy. This will be great for everybody listening during the week.
You're not looking for words of wisdom on the fucking chat, surely, mate.
I am here. C. Robert79 says, who is the female boxer? That is Avril Mathy, I believe. Ames put us on to her last Monday. Couldn't find another photograph to stick on the background, so I put her up. That is about it. You're a big fan, Andy, of Mathy already, I'm hearing?
Yeah, well, Ozzy's been sharing some information and intel on that, so we will be delving into that covertly, shall we say.
Yes, indeed. Bananarama is there. Maybe it's the band. Jim McDonald's been out fishing. Coronation Street on lockdown. He's still keeping himself busy. Don't see any other names there. We'll check on the chat as the evening progresses. Thank you, everybody. Jeff C as well. Oh, that's Ozzy. William Kernahan having a bit of... Yeah, there's a thriving chat. How many's in the chat? Let's have a look. Just over 6,000 and climbing. Just hitting the 7,000 mark there. Plenty of people listening to us on this Sunday evening. Let's get through a few questions before we ring up our first guest at 8:15 then. There's Lee the Alcoholic Froch. Good to see you. We have a question, more of a variation of a question that you threw in last week, which we'll be getting to a little bit later on. Ozzy, let's start with you, shall we? Matt Dobson over on patreon.com/boxing asylum threw this question in, or a comment, which you may wish to respond to. Shouldn't compare sports, says Matt, but the UFC has pulled out all the stops and has a 5-star card lined up for the 9th weekend. Boxing, however, seems content in its usual shite when I think this could have been the time, Ozzy, to capitalise. Big fights should be getting made now while we have no sport to look forward to. Maybe they are getting made behind the scenes on the old Skype, who knows?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I've seen it. It's taking place on this Fight Island. I didn't even see that a date had been confirmed, actually. I couldn't see it on any of the posters, but saw there was 9 or 10 cards. Fighters have got their own, literally own floor of rooms, things like that, and it's one of them. I mean, I can only assume that naturally no fans are going to be there. So, as I say, I want the big fights in boxing naturally to take place, but then I don't want them to take place just for the sake of them happening. So I'm not it's one of them. I would want to see Crawford against Errol Spence taking place on a fucking remote island somewhere for the sake of it happening. I think the atmosphere in boxing can make a massive difference. We also always talk about the crowds, how they can influence, like judges, things like that. But it can make a huge difference as a fan as well, watching, on TV. Or if you can't even be there, I think if you ask a lot of fans if they want to go to these super fights, yes, of course they do. People want to travel away and things like that. Go to America, maybe come over to the UK to watch the fights. Just because it's on an island, yeah, it's great that it's taking place, and a lot of people will be tuning in, no doubt. And yeah, they may have decent numbers, but is it sustainable? Is it even going to happen? Can this actually go ahead? I mean, it's been announced, but they announced something last time, and then the card got pulled. So it's one of those, at the moment, I believe it when I see it. We're seeing the situations improving all the time in various different countries. I think there was a card actually that took place in Nicaragua. I think it was either this week or last weekend.
It was last night.
Was it last night? Yeah. That's taken place. I think restrictions will ease. I'm not saying that we can expect something in the next, 3 or 4 weeks. But in terms of smaller shows taking place, I wouldn't be shocked if they start to appear in July sort of time. But in terms of the big fights, maybe it's selfish, but I'd rather wait for the big fights from when the fans can be back there and you get the full, the full package, rather than just trying to make things happen because nothing's happening at the moment.
Yeah, the boys in the chat are just keeping me right here on this UFC because I have no clue about it. I'm just reading out the question. The UFC is in Jacksonville, Florida. Apparently, I've actually been to Jacksonville, Florida many, many moons ago, not on a fight island, says Banana Rama and C. Robert 79. But as Ozzy mentioned, that's the first thing that came to my mind. Will it even go ahead? Because we had a question come in similar a couple of weeks ago and it didn't actually happen. But Ames is saying in the chat there, UFC, WWE and AEW, big fan of the old AEW, whatever that is, all are essential apparently. Last night, was it Nicaragua, Andy Fonseca? Were they socially distancing?
Yeah.
What was happening?
Yeah, I seen there was, I forget the guys at Timo Box Sale on Twitter, and he'd been posting a video for Nicaragua channel, sorry. They were basically removing seats in the arena, kind of like 6 feet distance and stuff. So obviously they're trying something different. I don't know if they're criticised for it, probably were. Freddie Fonseca, I think he'd been in with John Joe Nevin and Jojo Diaz. So I've not watched it. I can get my hands on it if I want to, but I don't know if I can be bothered. I mean, there's 2 names in there I'd watch or been, that I know of, but I'm not going to be sitting watching 6 round
You're not that
fights.
desperate, Andy, are you? Not yet.
No, yet. I was like, if you want your fix, it's there, but no, I'll stick to watching, like, say, some of the old school stuff at the minute. Plus, I'm on YouTube. If you want to watch it, it'll be on. I think it's on Prodrezzo Boxing on YouTube. I think it will be on at some point.
Yeah, I know Sam Jones was tweeting out at one point that he was that desperate for boxing to come back. He would pay £20 pay-per-view to see Lawrence Okoli against Matty Askin too, but I can't say that I'm that desperate myself, to be honest, that I would pay £20 to watch that.
Wouldn't even pay £2 to watch that, man. I'd watch it on, like, Periscope or something, Paying for that shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Ozzy, moving on to our questions from the people, from the peeps. Chris Butler on Twitter has thrown this one in for you. He said, what's the most one-sided fight that was built up to be a genuine 50-50 between the number 1 and number 2 in a division? I would say in recent memory, Usyk versus Gassiev, says Chris. He also threw in a more recent heavyweight attraction from earlier this year, which I suppose was built up to be a genuine 50-50. Turned out to be pretty one-sided. Do you want to elaborate on any of those? I'm sure you get with me on Wilder Fury 2 being the other one.
Yeah, good shouts, both of them. Struggling to think of any other immediate ones, to be honest. Wilder Fury 2 definitely is probably up there and is probably at number 1 from memory. More so because it wasn't as if, naturally Wilder was caught cold. He was absolutely battered. Naturally, looking back at Usyk and Gassiev as well, again, it wasn't a fighter that was, caught cold or, there was an injury or something like that. Usyk just boxed rings around him for 12 rounds. So from memory, just going off, I would definitely think those two spring to mind. I'll bring in Andy to see if he can think of any whilst I continue to think. But those two, in terms of high profile, 1 against 2, definitely, I don't think can be beaten from memory.
As Andy jumps in there, Lee the Alcoholic Froch threw in a good one, Crawford in Dongo, but I'm not really sure about Tosh Bears. He says Crusher versus Ward, but as far as I can remember, up until, obviously, the ending was one-sided as such because the fight was getting ended, but up until that point, it was pretty fairly even on the cards, wasn't it? The rematch between Kovalev and Ward.
I was going to throw in the middleweight one. I was going to say Taylor Pavlik and then Pavlik Martinez.
Well, I'm not sure though. The first Taylor Pavlik.
Are you looking for stoppages? So I didn't catch the full
No,
question.
he's saying the fights that were built up beforehand to be 50-50 fights, which ended up being really one-sided. Crawford and Dongo, Usyk,
right.
Gassiev, you know what I mean?
Well, definitely Taylor Pavlik, the first fight. And I would need to say, you would need to say Pavlik. I can't mind if Pavlik was a heavy favourite against Martinez, but he got schooled. It was definitely one-sided, that fight in the end, or it was something like 116, 112, 117, 111. They got cut up badly. I don't know if it got dropped, mind you, but to me, if I can recall it properly, it actually got a bit better skill.
Maybe I'm misrepresenting Chris Butler's question. I was thinking that, the way you said Usyk Gassiev, it's one that was built up to be like 50-50 beforehand, ends up completely one-sided. Like Fury dominated Wilder pretty much. You know what I mean?
Calzaghe-Lacey.
Yeah, Calzaghe-Lacey. That's a perfect example. Yeah.
So I've got one. I mean, it's naturally a lower level, but I remember on the Frampton Quigg undercard, Mark Heffron against Liam Williams. Now I picked Heffron. A lot of people picked Heffron, and people had this as people had Heffron going in as a favourite. And I know people from Wales who I speak to online basically went against Williams on this. And Williams beat the shit out of him, absolutely battered him. Now, obviously, it's not that level, where we're thinking, 1 against 2 in the world. Josh Taylor or O'Hara Davis as well is probably another one. A lot of people fancied O'Hara Davis to go in there,
that's a good one,
Scotland and knock out Josh Taylor. Yeah. And Taylor absolutely battered him and made him quit. I think 1 against 2 in the world, for example, is much more difficult because they're not as, it's rare that you'll go up, like a 1 and a 2 and it's a complete mismatch. But I think as you drop down the levels at European level, British level, things like that, you'll see more where it's built up as a 50-50. But in reality, you'll see a far superior winner.
What about Ward Froch?
Yeah, good one. Yeah.
But I don't know if it was a 50-50 going in. It was 1 and 2, but it's a 50-50 going in.
So Ward was probably...
Me personally, I wouldn't have said it was 50-50. But
Ward was a favourite, wasn't
he? Yeah, I mean, we can't go in hindsight, but I think it would be slightly favourite to Ward. Of course, Kessler Ward, but that was a 1 against 2. Kessler was still probably regarded as maybe 2-3 in the division by that point. In fact, he was favourite. He was favourite to
Usyk Gassiev is the perfect one.
Yeah,
I think, because I really couldn't pick between them. Genuinely, I was going back and forward.
What about Groves against Smith then?
What about Groves against Chris Eubank Jr.?
Yeah, but he wouldn't have been number 2 in the division, though, would he? So I'm saying Callum Smith for Smith against Groves.
Yeah.
Swaggy Taggy says Beterbiev against the Nail, but again, a lot of people had Gvozdyk ahead or like almost even when the point of the stoppage came.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that.
I think a fairer question, or one that opens it up a bit more, would be potentially 50 fights that were billed as 50-50s, but led out to be a convincing winner. Rather than a 1 against 2, for example. Because 1 against 2 is rare. It's rare in this day and age. We actually see a number 1 against a number 2 happening.
You get loose.
A lot of fights that are 50-50s billed as, whether that's 1 against 4 or something like that. But then number 1 runs out an absolute resounding winner.
What about the first fight between Lewis and Holyfield? What was that billed as? 50-50?
Lewis and I would have been close enough. I'd say Lewis would have been the favourite, probably, wouldn't he? Only slight though. It wouldn't have been like overwhelmingly.
Yeah, true. I mean, no, I can't even mention that one. Cruiserweights. You got Hay Macronelli.
Sorry, Gooden from Hay Macronelli is a good one.
Well, you see, that was built up to be a 50-50, but
Yes,
that was more Hay pulling the wool over people's eyes. I don't think anyone ever thought it was really a 50-50. Well, maybe they did. I don't know.
Hey, what about David Hay, Audley Harrison? I know the Hearns were waving the Harrison flag, when that was on pay-per-view. People giving Audley.
Chad Dawson, Adonis Stevenson.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Because Dawson was the champion as well. That's an excellent one. Yes, perfect. Yeah. Well done.
GB Boxing put a good one in the chat. Frampton Quigg.
Yeah.
I thought Frampton was a more than resounding winner in that.
That's a strange one, though, isn't it? Because one of the judges gave it to Quigg, which was an anomaly. I've never seen anything like it, but I mean, he seemed to think Quigg won, which is a bit odd. Right, okay, boys, I'm going to bring up our first guest of the evening. While I do so, if somebody wants to jump in on this one, Matt Dobson again, he says, thanks for keeping the pod going during the lockdown, no problem. Question-wise, says Matt, I naively hoped a forced ban of boxing would lead to a ramp-up of the big fights, champions versus champions, to get the cash rolling in. The past day, we've seen Crawford say he wants more money if he fights in an empty stadium. Warrington versus Stevenson, apparently dead in the water, over money. And one of the Charlos calling Eddie, asking for big fights, then saying, ask Uncle Al. Same shite as always, it seems. How do you see this lockdown affecting the big fights, bar Gary Russell Jr., whose schedule has been unaffected by the whole situation?
Yeah, well, Gary Russell's obviously not going to be seen again for another year, but I suppose if there's a shining beacon of light in the fucking fog of excellence that we're getting in boxing just now, about comments about fights, Devin Heaney and Crawford and all that sort of stuff, at least it seems to be that Gonzalez and Estrada seem to be kind of coming close to getting talks finalised for a rematch sometime late on this year. So that might be our first big-ish fight that we're going to get, and certainly is going to be a good fight. Just more on the kind of like the big-ish fights, as we mentioned before, and I think Ozzy would back me up in saying this, there is more chance of the amateur circuit starting up before the pro circuit, in my opinion, because you can easily do it behind closed doors. It doesn't need much money to kind of keep that going, so to speak. Some clubs might need it, but the big fights, Joshua Fury, Canelo, these guys, they've got fan bases and stuff, and if at the end of the day is a big bulk of their income is going to be gate money as well coming in, and I'll let Steve come in here just now. On you go, mate.
Lovely job. Thanks very much, Andy. Delighted to have our first guest of the evening on the call. It's Nathan Heaney. How are you, Nathan?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm not too bad at all. How are you coping with the lockdown at the moment?
Yeah, I'm actually quite enjoying this because I was very lucky that I was probably one of the last boxing shows that happened before the lockdown was confirmed. So, like in the lead up to the fight, I'm not bloody busy. It's nice to have a bit of a downtime, to be honest. So I've been really enjoying it. I've still been training, but it's been good.
Yeah, I was going to say, right before the lockdown, you were involved in a fight which included one of the now famous walkouts of all time. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I'm a Stoke lad, Stoke City lad, and I've always walked out to Delilah, which is like Stoke's basically unofficial anthem, or official anthem, whatever. But yeah, I've always had that, and it's just in my head when I first started professional boxing, I always wanted the idea of having a great walkout and a great entrance. But when I first did it, I had like 60 people at my debut, and then, so when I was doing my stuff, it was dead awkward. I hadn't really figured out what I wanted to do with the song and how to give it some. But every time it steadily grew a little bit. The crowds did each time, and until obviously the last time you saw on the video, it was bloody sold out. The place was, and it just worked perfectly. It was absolutely sold out. There was Stoke flags everywhere, and it just well, you saw yourself. It went viral. It was mixed. It was ace.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, you're often retweeting lots of local community stuff, local media. You're from Stoke-on-Trent, and that seems to be a big part of your identity.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'm a lad from the Potteries, and to be honest, I'd love nothing more than to. I mean, Stoke-on-Trent's famous for certain things. Obviously, Robbie Williams, all that kind of stuff, and the Potteries itself. But it'd be good if we could have something boxing related now, because Chris Edwards was the last great champion that we had here, but. Because obviously he died a couple of years ago, but he was the most successful fighter ever from Stoke, but that was, I think it was like 10 years ago since he last boxed. So it's good to have something new coming through now.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, Boxrec have you inside the top 15 middleweights in Britain now, which is a testament to the progression that you're making.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm looking at a list, I'm thinking, bloody hell, middleweight to stack the division. And there's quite a few at middleweight that are good. But yeah, I'm really glad that I was hoping when I fought for the title anyway, it was going to put me in the top 15, but I wasn't too sure how box record work it all out and stuff. But yeah, to be 14th in Great Britain, I'm happy with that.
Tell us about some of the names that you're looking towards. You're 31 years of age, obviously want to get a move on. Who are some of the names you're targeting in the short and long term?
I haven't got a clue. I really haven't. All I'm targeting is British titles and stuff. Like, obviously, that's the titles, and whoever's owning them titles, I'm up for fighting whoever it is. I mean, Liam Williams is a bloody animal. And a very dangerous fighter. But I think by the time I fight for the British title anyway, he's probably going to have moved on and vacated it most likely. I'm not too sure. But there's loads in the middleweight, and whoever, I'm happy to fight whoever it is that's in for the title challenge themselves. Yeah,
well said, Nathan. What about your training situation? Where are you based? Who coaches you?
So Steve Woodvine, it's Owen Boxing Club. And he's a very, very good coach from Stoke-on-Trent. He was predominantly all amateur boxing before, but Luke Catchy, who was one of his lads that he brought all the way through the amateur game, he turned over pro with him. And then I saw it as an opportunity to go, because usually in Stoke-on-Trent, fighters usually go to the same gym and the same manager as well. Yeah. But Luke went a different way. He went with BCB Promotions from Wednesbury near Birmingham. Yeah. And he was the only one from Stoke to do that. But I thought, you know what? I felt like going a different route to everyone else, like Luke did. And I joined on with Luke with BCB. And it's just weird because I think people would have expected me and him to just fall flat in the face because Errol would have had to, he was my manager, Errol Johnson, would have had to have made Stoke shows and stuff. Yeah. And if he hasn't got that many fighters, how can he make a show? But he made shows, he pulled fighters from all over the Midlands. And now it's just bloody great because we've got a right little stable. We've got 4 fighters in total. Me, Luke Catchy, Cole Johnson, Atal Carr, all former Own boys and now all pros.
Yeah, you mentioned Errol Johnson there. I know Frank Warren's been keeping an eye as well. What's the promotional situation going forward?
Yeah, it's at this moment in time, Errol Johnson is my manager and promoter, BCB Promotions, and then whatever happens in the future, you never know. So we just got to keep an eye out.
Absolutely, best of luck with that. Just to remind our listeners, we have Nathan Heaney on the call at Nathan Heaney over on Twitter, Instagram, Hitman_Heaney. Are you active on social? Any other platforms you need to make the listeners aware of?
The only other one is on Facebook, which is Nathan Hitman Heaney. So if you just put Nathan Hitman Heaney into the search bar, you'll see my little page on there.
Lovely job, yeah. Excellent. Going over the box rec then, 2 fights that stick out on the record. First of all, 2019, around summertime, you defeated Tom Stokes for the vacant British Midlands area title. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, very good. It's a very good fight, that was. Tom Stokes, very tough lad, and a very, very game lad as well. And originally, I was meant to be fighting a lad called Ryan Aston, the southpaw from, I think, Wolverhampton. He was a very good lad on the GB squad. Throughout the years, he was on Frank Warren's stable list as well. And I was really looking forward to that. But there was something in the back of my mind that I thought, I think this lad's going to pull out. Yeah. There was just something in the back of my mind. I just thought, I don't know. And then, yeah, he did pull out, I think, about 6 weeks before the title fight was meant to happen. So then Errol was looking around for getting other opponents. The only one left was Tom Stokes, and Tom Stokes took it immediately. But what was good is he'd just come off the back of a big win against Chris Blaney from Rick Yatton's stable. Yeah. So he'd come off a big win there, and so he was buzzing. He was fit because he was already meant to be fighting on that same show anyway in Stoke. So he was always meant to be fighting on that date. So it worked perfect for him, really. So we were both in good shape, and we had a right little tear up. He was nominated one of the fights of the year by the Midlands board. We didn't win that. Siobhan Pitters and Dex Spellman actually won fight of the year, but ours was definitely a good little scrap, and people really enjoyed it.
Yeah, fair play, and fair play to Tom for stepping up as well. Last fight, we're just talking about the last fight there with the walkout. Vacant IBO Continental Super Middleweight title on the line. 10-rounder as well. Christian Schembri, Swiss guy, 7 losses on the record, 17 wins though. That's a good step up for you as well there.
Yeah, it was. I knew what he was going to be about because when you watch them online, you can sort of pick. I never look at fighters and think, oh, they're going to do this and they're going to do that. But what I do look at is I look at the characteristics of them. Or do they work hard? Have they got a good chin? Like, what little things do they do? Because, I mean, fighters can always change what they do in the ring. So I started looking at, like, characteristics, and I could see he was quite relentless in the way that he would come forward with his shots and stuff. But, again, he was always different fights. One fight he'd have his hands down. Next fight he's moving his head with his hands up. And so I wasn't too sure what I was going to get when he turned up. But he was definitely a good step up for me.
So if there's a young lad or lady looking to go into the sport, maybe turn pro perhaps, what advice would you give them, Nathan?
Advice, if they want to become a professional in the future, you've got to get into the amateur boxing scene. I mean, there was a local guy in Stoke-on-Trent that said to me, because I can't stand the white collar game, and he said, well, more people are turning pro for the white collar game than they are the amateur sports. Now, I disagree with that. In Stoke-on-Trent they might be, but not anywhere else. Not the other top. Where there's top professionals, they've all come from top amateur backgrounds. So find one of the best gyms in your city, like amateur gyms, and spend a lot of time there. Like, I mean, I was fighting for 16 years as an amateur. I had 90 contests and boxed the best kids in the country, like, and beat some of the best kids in the country as well. But it all plays a part in giving that experience. And then, if you are thinking about turning pro, you need to think of a way that you can become, I don't know, you've got to set yourself apart from everyone else in a way. If
something
you
unique, really, you think? Like,
So I know it sounds ridiculous, but like the walkouts that I've got, like, is quite unique, and people look forward to that before the fights. People are buzzing, waiting just to see the walkout, because you know how electrifying it is with the noise and the bloody Stoke lot are mad and absolutely superb. So yeah, I don't know. You just got to be entertaining and be a good person with the way you handle yourself with other people and stuff, and just respect the game and just train your hardest.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Which current fighters do you enjoy watching, Nathan?
Growing up, Joe Calzaghe was one of my idols, and then strangely enough, I started gravitating towards like Golovkin, and then so I just love his jab and stuff, but then I learned that some of the principles from him were taken from Julio Cesar Chavez. So Chavez is actually one of the guys I actually watched now, senior, because I didn't realise how defensively sound he was as well. Yeah. I just thought he was a Mexican brawler, but he wasn't. Like, his head movement was amazing. Like the pressure, and he's very economical with his shots and ruthless as well. So he's one of my favourite fighters. And I've got a mix: Joe Calzaghe, Lomachenko, Julio Cesar Chavez. They're the ones that I like to watch. Excellent
stuff. One of the guys there, just as we're finishing off, is asking a question in the chat room. He's talking about a possible future fight between you, I think, and Andrew Robinson. There's a Midlands link as well there.
Yeah, I've seen no reason why not. Andrew's a very good fighter. I mean, we've even sparred together, so I know what he's about. He's very strong, very game, very relentless as well, and no doubts. And I think he's a BCB lad as well. So, I mean, to make the fight, I don't think it'd be that hard. But it's just what opportunities come up. Who knows? I mean, for me, when you're looking at them top 15 boys, you're sort of starting to think, which ones am I going to fight for a title? Because it's okay fighting them on the way you're building up, but you want something with these big boys. You want something at the end of it as well. So I've got to see what opportunities come about.
Well said. At Nathan Heaney, everybody, on Twitter. He's on Facebook as well. Instagram, Hitman_Heaney. Absolute pleasure having you on, Nathan. You spoke very well. We appreciate your time.
No, thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate you having me on.
Excellent, and hopefully we'll catch up with you again in the future. Maybe you'll have a British title around your waist. Who knows?
Who knows? That's the idea, really. But it's going to be hard, mate. But at the end of the day, if I work hard, who knows? Who knows?
Absolutely. Best of luck, Nathan. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Take care, man.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Nathan Heaney there, Aussie. Sells tickets, speaks well. Yeah, we can get behind a guy like that.
Definitely, and I think the way he signed off at the end, it's a lad that essentially ticks boxes already. Clearly a talent, sells tickets, but appreciates the publicity. Willing to come on a Sunday night. Yeah, it's lockdown, but still giving up his own time. And I thought he spoke really, really well. No bullshit with him, no calling out people. Acknowledged Liam Williams was a machine, and at probably this stage, he's probably a bit, just too well polished for him at the moment. But admits that by the time realistically he's fighting for a British title, Liam Williams won't be there. Him against Andrew Robinson would be a really good fight. I think Robinson I'm sure he's mandatory at the moment for the British. We're obviously not going to see him fight Liam Williams, who's the champion. So why not? Why not Nathan Heaney against Andrew Robinson? It could be a big show for BCB as a hometown show, or once boxing starts again, if somebody returns to the Midlands, it's a great one to be, featuring on the undercard. But no, it's always good to give up and coming fighters publicity. They give us time, we give them time, and it works really well. I've seen in the chat already the what's it called? They're giving him a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people are going to keep an eye out for him, and it shows that the interview was worthwhile. And as he said, he spoke really well. It was an enjoyable listen.
Yeah, he certainly did. A couple of panel members have jumped on before we got to them. We'll go back to Andy. A couple of the guys in the chat there saying it's good to be back on YouTube, which I do agree. It is good to be back on YouTube. Mixler was shite. Mixler was age. You're actually wrong there, boys. Mixler wasn't shite. Mixler done a good turn for us. It filled a gap after YouTube stopped Hangouts. We were banned off YouTube, and then obviously they said no more. We're back on StreamYard, which is good. But now Mixler served us well over the last few months, so I'm not going to shit on Mixler, to be honest. So you're wrong. You're wrong, Jason Chukwu. Anyway, Andy, only joking. What were you saying before I cut you off in your prime? You were discussing something.
Oh, I can't mind, mate. I was too busy listening to Nathan Heaney. Hopefully you sign up with a decent promoter. I think he's used Aussie says and that he's got Frank sniffing about, and Frank's always one for picking up young talent and developing them. And he's always been like that, actually. So it's probably the logical move for him. Then again, if he's selling tickets, Eddie likes a ticket seller as well, so it might have a wee bit of competition as well. So we'll wait and see.
Yep, good luck to Nathan Heaney going forward. Also, voices from the past, punches from the past. Donny Baseball has jumped on. How you sounding, Donny? How are you?
I've done it.
Don? Can't play that anymore.
Oh, hey, have you lost all those as well, eh?
Well, I've still got them on the computer, but you could. It was the way Mixler was set up with the audio channels. You could send them. You can't do that now. No.
Right.
Trying to get Donny through the audio channels here. There, Don. Don versus mute button for the IBO title. Who's going to come out on top? No, not getting much Donny. Maybe rapping Rob Kelly or fare better. How are you, Roberto, on this Sunday evening?
Evening, gentlemen.
Sounding good, Rob. Sounding good. How are you? How's lockdown?
Complaining assholes. How's my mic sounding tonight, you fucking pricks?
Some concerned fans, Rob. Some concerned fans.
To all the listeners who brought that up, by the way. Hello. All the listeners that brought that up, it was a headphone issue, and I've ordered new headphones from Apple. They haven't made it in time for tonight's broadcast, so it could be a bit ropey in spots, but bear with us. You are getting it for free after all, you complaining bastards. Yeah, good on this side. Who said Brian King is a sex god in the chat? What kind of fucking thing? What have we opened up here? Fucking hell. What's going on, gentlemen?
Not much. We're okay. We're okay, Rob. Just concerned about you out there. It may be lockdowns getting to you mentally.
There was fucking, I tell you, that ship had sailed a long time ago.
Right. I've got a question for you, Rob, if you want to field it. How you feeling? You ready for one?
Feeling okay. I'm in the spot where I normally drop off Wi-Fi, but let's give it a shot there and I'll see how I can respond. What's the question, Stevie?
I shall ask you right now. It's from Swaggy Taggy. During the lockdown, Swaggy's been watching a lot of big George Foreman fights. While watching the little talked about Joe Frazier rematch, I was surprised to learn that both men were still chasing a rematch with Ali. How do you think, Rob, a rematch between Big George and Ali would have gone? Would it be the same as the Rumble, or do you think Foreman and his corner would have wisened up and overcome the demons of Kinshasa?
Hold on one sec. Yeah, I think. Can you hear me? Eh?
Yes.
No. Hold on, let me get up.
The best ever. Hey, your dog as well.
Let me get up. I think a rematch with Foreman and Ali would have gone the same way. I think Ali had mentally broken Foreman, and he probably would be the first to admit that. He said himself that after the first fight, he made a lot of excuses. He said the ring was too big, his shoes were too big, everything was. He just couldn't come to terms with the fact that he had fallen into the trap. Now, maybe if he fights a different fight and he gets on the jab and that, it could have been different. But I think it would have been the same outcome. Probably not the same style of fight, but the same outcome.
And did you have anything to throw in on that one, just while we're at it?
No, I was just saying that the excuses that Foreman used, that I think he'd still say that he'd been drugged, and then when that didn't wash over as well, that the count was too quick and that. But I remember when he got up, he didn't even complain about the count. He just got up on his feet and walked right back to the corner, you know. So yeah, he was roundly ridiculed, Foreman, for what happened in that fight and the excuses that he made afterwards. Because if you remember when we did the talk back on the Ron Lyle fight, there was a question marks about his stomach. You know, when it really got tough and that, you know, would he be able to hang in there? Because if he got beat or blasted out in that, he was looking for excuses and stuff or blamed other people. But against Ron Lyle, you know, any question marks about his character as a fighter was instantly dispelled.
Let's see if we get Donny back on. Donny, desperate for you here. The chat is saying, "Where's Donny?" He wants it. He's got his little bow tie there as well. Are you there, Donald? Are you there? Come on. Come on, Donny. Signing on and not talking doesn't count. Well, we shall move on, I suppose. Matt Dobson. We've already gone through him. Thank you, Matt, for your question. Nathan Heaney, shout out in the chat there. He was on the call. Good lad, Nathan Heaney. Trying to bring up another question here. Don't upset anybody, Andy. We have a question in here from Joe Kennedy. He says, not trying to be controversial, but why don't we see any Jewish fighters anymore? When you look back through the older fighters, there's a bunch like Benny Leonard, Bartley Nowitzki, Barney Ross, Max Baer. I'm not saying it's a recent phenomenon, but at some stage, the well of Jewish fighters dried up, and I'm wondering why. Maybe the rise of Central or South American fighters. I did reply to Joe with 2 or 3 recent Jewish fighters. You probably name the same as me.
No, I mean the ones that I kind of recall would be old school ones as well, mate. Like well, the one that I kind of recall straight away would be Jack Kidberg for London. He'd been, I think he was no welterweight champion or lightweight champion, I think, back in the 20s or 30s or whatever. A. Battelle and Ted Kid-Lewis is, and obviously the one you mentioned, Barney Ross, and what was the other one?
I've gone
Benny Leonard. Benny Leonard. That's the kind of ones that kind of spring to my mind and stuff. As to why, I mean, I suppose it's like everything else. It's probably just a kind of generational thing. You know, you had the Jews and the Italians. Well, I'm talking about New York here now, obviously. So you talk about the Jews and the Italians, probably the Hispanics as well, around about that time. Because you remember you had a lot of fighters coming up into America for Cuba when they were still allowed to fight pro. Obviously, you know, Britain had a fair Jewish population, so did Europe and that as well. Well, obviously, we can't discount that fucking 7 million or 5 million were killed during the Second World War. So naturally, the talent pool is going to kind of be whittled down a little bit. But it's just a form of generational thing, because you know people are asking the question: where's the great white hope? Where's the next great black fighter? Because they're all picking up basketball or baseball or soccer or football or whatever you want to call it. I just think, you know, at this day and age that boxing is just, you know, too tough a sport, and only kind of certain few will go through it. Another as well as, you know, the last Jewish fighter I can recall actually off the top of my head would be Salita, who fought.
Dimitri Salita. Yeah,
that's the last one I can think of.
Yuri Foreman as well. Do you remember Yuri Foreman?
Yuri Foreman as well. I fought Cotto. That's right.
I'm a rabbi, didn't he?
He did.
Cletus Selden.
Gary Jacobs was Jewish. Well said, mate. Aye.
Gary Jacobs, Andy. Yeah, surprised
forgot about him. Just anybody who mentioned James Toney, he actually wore that in respect to, was it his management team managing? Aye, was it Jack? What's her name? It's a woman.
She was a lady, wasn't it? Jackie something, wasn't it?
Jackie. She did the Contender series with Sly Stallone. Callan. Jackie Callan.
Jackie Callan, yeah.
Jackie Callan.
There we go. And Nick Kisner as well, Andy, was one I was thinking of, a heavyweight who fought Otto Wallin before Wallin fought Tyson Fury. It's a bit of a nerdy one there.
Right. There's a light heavyweight guy as well. I'm trying to recall his name. Maxie something. Maxie. Oh, fuck.
Maxie Rosenblum.
There we go. Maxie Rosenblum. There you go.
There was a guy from Israel fought at light heavyweight. Was it cruiserweight? He might have fought Hook or.
Who was the one? Who was the one that Teddy Atlas played in the film? Remember, it was a member. He was a member. He had to fight in the concentration camps in the Second World War, and he was undefeated or whatever. And that.
I've never seen that movie. I know that anyway. Teddy Atlas.
I know, but what was his name? Something like 300 fights in the prisons and stuff, and he finally won his freedom, I think, and got released, but died no long after the war, whatever it was. Someone will probably dig out the name somewhere, I suppose.
Yeah, I was right there, Andy, on Hook. He fought Israel's own Ran Nakash, who was 25-0. So
that's right, I remember him. I remember that. I can't
believe I remembered that.
Ran Nakash, yeah. There we go.
Oh, we've got quite a few for you. Donny seems to be back again, so let's see if we can connect him. See if we can get a connection with you there, Donny, out in space. Are you there, Don?
I've done it,
This is upsetting me now. Donny. Might just have to give up on him. Yeah, Joe's in the chat. Shout out to Joe. He threw in another question as well. I'm just trying to bring that up now, actually. We'll ask you, Rapping Rob Kelly, shall we? Another question from... Oh, hang on. Donny? No. He unmuted himself.
He's having a fucking mare tonight anyway.
Oh dear. There's always somebody. I'm glad it's not me. Yeah, let's move on to you.
It's normally me.
Rapping Rob Kelly. Joe Kennedy, friend of the pod, wants to know from you. Edwin Valero versus Vasily Lomachenko at 130. Rob, what do you think about that? I know I'm going to throw my 2 pence worth in quickly. Valero, big puncher, very aggressive, but like any sort of fighter who intimidates people, you can work him out, you can beat him, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I find it very difficult to put anyone at 130. Are you saying 130 or 135? 130.
130, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably Lomachenko's best weight. You know, he can fight a featherweight. Probably 130 is probably his best weight, and 135 is a stretch for him. I would say that'd be a very tough night for Valero. I think as wild as he was and as good as he was, as hard a puncher as he was, I think you're right. I think Lomachenko could have punched holes in his defense and not been there for the big shot. So I would say Lomachenko wins that one. But it'd be an exciting prospect because it's one of those ones you never know. Like if Valero tags him, how does he respond? But do you tag him? Like that's the other thing. Do you catch him clean enough times to hurt him? So I would say prime Lomachenko versus prime Valero. If we even got to see Valero's prime, I would edge towards Lomachenko for sure.
You think, Andy, would you concur with me and Rob, or would you have any different opinions on that?
Yeah, it'd be one I'd be definitely bang up to see anyway, I guarantee you that. Speed versus power, raw aggression against talent. I think Lomachenko would gradually wear it. I don't know if he would beat him by stoppage. I think Valero would certainly punch hard enough or land enough shots just to kind of keep him honest, keep him backing up, and just kind of make him work for it. Valero as well. He could go balls to the wall, but he had problems with movers. I'm going to say that Lomachenko does it 116, 112 type thing on points, but it's one of these mythical matchups. But I think Valero's definitely in that fight all the way. But if you just think back again, I mentioned the fight last week or a week before, the Mosquera fight. If he has a night like that against Lomachenko, he could get stopped because he had heavy weather the whole night. So you just never know. I think Valero's best weight was 135, and I agree with Rob. Lomachenko is just basically no cutting weight these days, but his best weight is probably 130. Certainly that's where he was kind of like mixed about featherweight, super featherweight when he was an amateur, and that's really his best and peak weight. Whereas Valero probably outgrew super featherweight after 5-6 defences or whatever it was before he moved up to 135. So, and plus he wasn't at 135 for long before we were talking about him fighting Pacquiao up at 140. So probably a guy who was outgrown the weight, and he grew up in poverty as well. That guy, so obviously he'll be getting the more he ate, the bigger, the heavier he was going to get in that as well. So, but I think Loma on points.
A few of the boys in the chat are throwing in their 2 pence worth as well. Fuck, the anniversary of Edwin Valero was recently. What a fighter, says Jason Chukwu. Sam Shepherd's in the chat as well. Loma coming off a loss, dominated. He's discussing it as well. Curly Watts Another from the Coronation Street fame. Linares managed to drop in. Valero, a different prospect. Great fight either way. Nathan Heaney as well, still there with us. Loma would have to respect the power too, says Joe Kennedy, would crank up the pressure late. Let's crank up the pressure on you, Ozzy, a little bit with our next point. Andy mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. We never managed to get around to it. But he was mentioning the worst world champions. So we're going to go through a few of the worst world champions that come to mind. Now, this might be a long list. It might be a short list. Who knows? I'm going to throw a first one in, Ozzy. You might have some of your own. But surely Charles Martin has to be right up there with the recent worst world champions. The way he got his belt and then, of course, feebly defended against AJ before being stopped early against AJ, in my opinion.
Yeah, bastard. He was one of mine, actually. Might be a bit harsh, but what about Big Bermain? Big Bermain Stiverne.
Oh, yeah. He inherited it, didn't he, against Ariolo, I think?
Yeah, I forget. I'm sure. Did he not? He fought Ariola once. Did he not fight again? Which the belt was on the line, and then it was in a bit of a dull fight with Wilder, and then obviously came back, wormed his way into a mandatory, and was obliterated onto what's it called? Just onto another planet. Basically, he was a corpse on the floor, wasn't he? I'm trying to think of any from memory, any others.
Truax.
Well, yeah, Caleb Truax, yeah, fair one.
Rob Brandt. Did he win the world title?
You're going into the murky world of WBA regulars and stuff there.
You could put Lucas Brown up there.
Liam Smith.
Yeah, Liam Smith was on my list.
Yeah.
I mean that reign of terror is worse than Kilzagi's man at WBO. I mean that.
Jimmy Kelly.
He fought that Boston Great. I can remember.
That's
rather Savage.
Like Pedro Savage, yeah.
Corey Spinks at light middle. I'll tell you what, right? Well, see 150. See back 2000s. See the 154. The champions they had, especially I were fucking shocking. Spinks, Ishii, Smith. I remember. Yuri Foreman was just mentioned as well. Liam Smith against Sergio Mora. Remember Sergio Mora? Jesus, he was world champion at one point. Saddam Ali, I recall being a world champion at some point. I think I'm right in saying. Because who's it beat him? Munguia beat Saddam Ali. That was right. And who else could we say? Carlos. What about the guy that Hatton fought? Was Carlos Mauser an ex-world champion?
Yeah, but he had a decent win, didn't he? Like he'd beaten Vivian Harris, so I'll give him that. Like,
right. What about Ndongo then?
Yeah. If they have a decent win, I sort of let them off. Like Corey Spinks as well. He at least beat Mayorga, so he has that good win. Guys like Liam Smith, I think he's perfect because he was a world champion for 2 or 3 fights. And he beat absolute shit. And Andrade's another one, really. I mean, who's he ever beaten?
True. Andrade. Cleverly.
Scott Quigg's reign of terror, do you remember that? Got given the belt and then defended it against, like, Aka. Do you remember that? The first defence he made of that title? It was on the Foch Groves 2 undercard, wasn't it? Was it David Silver or something you called the fella? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Bellew,
yeah.
Alex Arthur.
Yeah, Alex Arthur got emailed his belt. Yeah, that's true.
Was Giovanni Di Carolisa champion?
Yes, it was one of the WBA belts.
What about Vincent? Did Vincent? But
it was either that or an interim belt. I can't remember, but I watched both those fights, and he got gifted one and got stopped in the other, so he wasn't a champion. Trust me.
One of the boys says Gavin Rees, but I'll give him credit for that win over Solomon and Boy. I'm not gonna...
At 140 as well, by the way. You know, he was 2 weights above his best weight at that time as well. He should really have been at 130 if he could be disciplined enough, I suppose.
I'll exempt him, yeah.
Michael Bent.
I thought Reese was all right. He wasn't that badly.
Michael Bent.
Oh, Michael Bent, yeah. Herbie Hyde.
I'm putting Devin Haney up there at the
greatest heavyweight since Muhammad Ali, according to Baza.
Devin Haney. Yeah.
Two-time, what's it called?
Gmail champion. Gmail champion.
Literally not thrown a punch to win a belt, and he's won it twice.
Yeah, Ames in the chat says Alberto Machado. Yeah, that was it. Maxwell Awuku he beat. He dropped him early, and then he went the 12 rounds.
You can put in then that Andrew. Is it Andrew Canciel who beat him? I think as well.
Yeah,
put him in. Terry Flanagan maybe.
Yeah, Terry Flanagan. I'll just say Paul Butler beat Stuart Hall in a split decision and got banged out in his first defence.
You see Stuart Hall as well at the same time.
Lee Haskins.
Steve.
Yeah.
Our next guest has said he's ready whenever you are. So I don't know if you want.
All right, okay. I'll ask
yeah.
someone a question and give him a ring then.
Cool, man.
So while we're going on then, boys, does anybody want to throw in any softest world title fights, just branching off this? I was going to say Scott Harrison defending his WBO against Samuel Kabady, Dimitri Bivol beating Trent Broadhurst, and Ricky Burns against the Italian. So some of the softest world title defenses got, opponents that you think, how on earth did that guy get a shot?
Billy Joel Saunders, can we look at his reign of terror? Kell Brook, Kevin Bizier, Jojo Dan.
Yeah.
Saunders against Artur Akovov, which proved to be a much tougher fight than it should have been. Probably put Shefat Isufi in there as well when he won the vacant super middleweight title as well. Another tin can. Andy mentioned one then for Liam Smith, Predrag Radosevich.
Gordon Thompson, did they win the belt against him?
John Thompson, he won the belt against. Yeah, Jimmy Kelly. Jimmy Kelly definitely is a soft defense. Yeah, definitely.
So, some of those defenses for Ricky Hatton's WBU champion, were pretty horrific. I mean, like Michael, I remember Ray Oliveira was past his prime by that point. Dennis Pedersen for Denmark, again, he was an okay fighter, probably decent on about European level and stuff. And he'd been on the fringes and that's for a fair bit, but he was again another fighter who's seen faded days as well,
Flanagan had a couple. Mazonki Fana for Terry Flanagan. I think he had 45 or something like that. And that Orlando Cruz as well for Flanagan. There's a lot. You can look back and look at a lot of champions.
Ozzy, you can go and have a think there. I'm just going to bring in our second guest, if you don't mind. I'm delighted to welcome former middleweight world champion Andy Lee on the call. How are you, Andy?
Grant, Steve. Thank you for having me on.
No problem at all. How are you coping during this lockdown, first and foremost?
All right. Ups and downs. Mostly good. Some days you find yourself a little bit pissed off, but I think that's only natural, isn't it? It's an unprecedented situation and a new experience for everybody. But other than that, it's not too bad. I'm at home, staying in, following the rules. Getting out a little bit for a run here and there, a bit of weights, and taking my daughter to the park once a day. That's about it. But other than that, nothing else.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So obviously, Andy, you were very much involved in Tyson Fury's rematch with Deontay Wilder. We'll touch upon that first. So what is it like with Tyson in camp? His personality and his work ethic. What's his professionalism like?
As good as I've seen of any fighter. You might not think that with his, all these antics and flamboyant personality, but when it comes to training, he's as serious and as focused as anyone I've ever seen. A very hard worker, always pushes himself to do more, wants to do more, and sometimes you have to pull him back and say that's enough, But I'm not sure. It's my first time working with him in this capacity, but in terms of what I saw, inside the gym and outside the gym, he did everything absolutely correct and didn't cut any corner, didn't allow himself any small leeway or he just sacrificed, was so dedicated, slept, ate and drank perfectly and trained extremely hard. So that's why you see the result. It makes sense when you see that the way he fought. When you do those sacrifices, they pay off.
Yeah, absolutely. What process did you all go through to devise the game plan to fight Wilder in that rematch? I mean, you were involved, Sugar Hill was involved, Tyson himself. How did it all come together?
Tyson called me, would have been in November, and it was a surprise to me. He said, I need to find a new trainer and I need a new coach. Could I recommend anybody? Who would I suggest? And we went through maybe 15 or 20 coaches, people we know, English, American, all over the world. And I suggested Sugar Hill, and he said, Andy, it's funny you mentioned him because that's what I was thinking about. And can you contact him for me? And that was it. So, put on a few days later, he texted me and said, would I help training? And of course, you can't really say no to the heavyweight champion, heavyweight championship fight. So, that was basically it. And like, it was surprising to me because, you know, Ben seemed to have had, and seems to still do have a good relationship, and they were working well together, and I thought Ben did a fantastic job with it. But obviously he wanted more, and that's what he got. He wanted to be more aggressive, he wanted the crunch style, and what you saw him doing in the fight is exactly what we worked on in training every day. We just drilled simple basic stuff: jab, step back, 1-2, take the distance, then step back straight into the distance. And it was simple stuff, but very hard to execute, very hard to perform in training. It's very tiring. Like, you're working when you're doing everything absolutely correct, engaging your legs, your core, and punching correctly. It's tough work. So they had hard days in camp, but yeah, like I said, he got the result.
Yeah, he certainly did. And after the fight, obviously, there were excuses thrown out by Deontay Wilder regarding his suit, the decision of Mark Breland to throw in the towel. What did you make of all that?
I'm not sure about the decision. No, I'm not sure about, like, the suit and all that. I'm not sure. I've watched the fight back maybe 3 or 4 times since then. His legs did look bad. You know, I was shocked at how quickly he deteriorated and how he just completely fell apart, you know. But I think when he's criticising Mark Breland for it, I think in some ways it's not great to speak out again like that, but sometimes you want to see that from the fight because it shows that they have that fighting spirit, that even though they somewhere probably deep inside they know it's probably the right decision, they still have to fight against it and show, like, be a bit delusional almost because they want to keep fighting. You know, they don't want to be stopped ever. And I think some of it was maybe just saving face as well, publicly, because he was just being so like emphatically. But that's yeah. I like, you know, and the rematch was set for July. And if it did happen in July, I couldn't see any way Wilder wins the fight. And even if it does happen, whenever it happens, I think it's only going to be more because with Tyson, he only had 8 weeks to work with him. And imagine what he'd be like in another 8 weeks. You know, another 8 weeks, another 14 weeks of that training and preparing and building on the things that he's already just scratching the surface with him at the moment.
Do you think with Wilder, regarding the excuses, there might be a case of he's been so reliant on his power, everyone else has gone, Fury didn't go. If he actually looks deep down and says, I wasn't able to knock him out, then the mental demons might start coming in, making the other excuses, you know, sort of gives him that, well, I can still knock him out if we fight again type?
Yeah, well, like there was the first round in the fight where there was three instances where I think just set a tone and set the pattern for the fight where he hit Tyson with 2 like flush right hands in the fight, and Tyson just kept walking forward and just stepping to him, and I think that did demoralise him. And then also Tyson hit him with a jab, and it was what we had worked on to make his jab a weapon, and not just like we really made his jab a real like part of his arsenal now. He's a real tool which he can use, and he hurt Wilder with a jab. And you see Wilder's eyes just open up. And I think then Wilder knew he was in trouble. He knew he was fighting this is going to be a completely different fight. And then on, he was just trying to I think he was trying to cope, get his head around it mentally from the difference he could see in Tyson. I don't think he was prepared for. I don't think he ever believed that Tyson was going to fight the way he did, even though Tyson told him he was. And I think he was trying to come to terms with what he was seeing in front of him in terms of what Tyson was doing, and then trying to figure something out where he could combat that. But he just couldn't get it together. For me, when I watch Wilder, he needs a lot of time. His opponent, and with Tyson just didn't give him a second. And the only way I think Wilder can come back and do anything against Tyson is be a lot more aggressive himself and try to meet and match Tyson. But he even tried at this time to up his weight, and it might not have been a good move. I'm not sure. He tried to, like, Tyson made such a big thing about his weight, kept saying it, and I think that got into Wilder's head, and he tried to lift his weight up, which might not have been a good move for him.
Rob Kelly, who's obviously set us up, is throwing in a question for you, Andy. He said you seemed as happy with Tyson's win as you did winning your own world title. How does it compare?
Yeah, I was probably a lot more. I don't know. I celebrated a lot more excessively. I think when Tyson won, I was jumping around. But look, it was a very sweet moment, and it was very satisfying because I felt enormous amount of pressure and responsibility because I was obviously the one who recommended Sugar Hill, and then I involved in training him, and then he concocted this game plan, which was against everybody's advice.
Yeah,
the advice was to box, carry on and do what Tyson did in the first fight, and then don't concede the knockdowns, and you'll win. Win on points. Stay away from Wiley's the biggest punch. You don't go into him. But we just went completely against that. So I did feel like the pressure. Even when round 4 and 5, when it was like only going one way, I still wasn't. I was still feeling it. So when the time was raised, yeah, there was a full release, and it was a very sweet moment. And but Tyson deserves all the credit. Really, he was the one who did it. You can give a game fighter a game plan. You can train for it, but for him to go out and do it under that serious amount of pressure, that on that stage, it was unbelievable. And yeah, shout out to Rob Kelly. Always stayed in contact with us, and big part of the Clonk team back in the day, back when we were fighting in Dublin, in what was the Point Depot, and Emmanuel and him became good friends, and Emmanuel always asked about Rob Kelly, so he's a good friend of mine. Right?
Absolutely. Just to remind our listeners,
he's blowing me up.
Andy Lee is on the
Thanks
call,
that,
former
Andy.
middleweight champion, now in the training business at Andy Lee Boxing over on Twitter. A couple more questions for you then. Aside from the Fury training, how are you finding retirement from the fight game in general, Andy?
I don't miss boxing, like fighting myself. I don't. Like, you miss certain parts of it, like just the physical, the benefits of training all the time, looking and feeling good, because it's very hard to have that same discipline when it comes to eating and drinking, especially now we're in lockdown as well. I might do a bit of running, but I'll have like 2 or 3 cans of Guinness in night time and it'll be straight back on. But no, that's all. I don't miss the fighting. I had a good long career. I had a good run, and I was very happy with what I achieved. And when I walked away, I was very happy with it too. So I feel like now that do a small bit of commentary here and there, punditry, and now that I'm training fighters, I still get my fix in that sense, and I don't have the urge to go back in the ring.
Talking of training fighters, a couple of guys, Paddy Donovan. Do you want to say a few words on him first of all?
Yeah, Paddy is the reason I got back into boxing and got involved in coaching. I managed and trained Paddy. He's a young fighter from Limerick Island, and there's a lot of similarities between us. And I've known him since he was a kid. He's won everything since he was 11 years old. And I started to watch him a couple of years ago. Watched him in the senior title championships here in Ireland, and he was he's just sort of head and shoulders above everybody. And as a talent, he's sensational to me. He has all the ingredients to be world champion. So I've been around boxing a long time, seen a lot of young kids coming through and blah blah blah. And I think Paddy is as good as anybody I've seen. He's very, to me, I think he's a special talent. And so that was it. I seen him. He wanted to turn pro. He asked me could I help him out, and I said yeah. And we did some sessions together. And I signed him and in contract with Top Rank. So he's really as long as he keeps his feet on the ground and doesn't let anything distract him, he has a clear pathway to go all the way. I'm also training Jason Quigley, who I got involved with him after he lost to Turiano Johnson. Since then we've had 2 wins in America, and he's building back. He was due to fight Jack Cullen on May the 2nd and May the 3rd. And obviously with this lockdown, that's all been put on the back burner. But if whenever boxing resumes and that fight is still there, he'll happily fight Jack Cullen. But Jason is a really, really, really good talented fighter. He has a lot of experience from beating America. He's a world amateur silver medalist, a European champion as an amateur. And you don't win those medals without having some sort of grade or some sort of mental and physical toughness. So yeah, it was a really good fight. He's just got for him, it's confidence. I think that loss set him back. But I know all about that. I had a similar loss in my career early at a similar stage when I lost to Brian Vera. And I know what it takes to come back from that. So we're working hard every day, and I'm just correcting a few little bad habits that he's picked up over the years. But 1 or 2 wins and he's right back in the mix. So Jason Jason's a good fighter, and yeah, we just take. It's only a year. He was only about a year away from having a big fight.
Yeah, absolutely. A final couple of questions for you, Andy. We do thank you for your time. One of our guys is going back in time, way back to 2011, asking you what you remember of the night you fought Craig McEwen.
I remember a lot of it, actually. It was a very hard fight. And as I've said, it could have went either way. I was behind on the scorecards and losing the fight up until whatever it was, the 9th round, when I just made the decision to pull myself up and get up off the stool and say, I'm not losing this fight. Yeah. And I started to walk forward, my hands up, and just start throwing jabs and 1-2s. And I eventually knocked him out in the last round. And it was. If I'd lost that fight, my career was over. But I'd lost one fight already on my TV debut. This is my second fight after waiting a long time, 3 years to get another chance. I finally got it against Craig, who was undefeated at the time. Had beaten the guy who'd beaten me, Brian Vera, and it was a make or break fight. But it was a tough fight, And like I said, it could have easily went either way. And if I'd lost that fight, who knows where I would have ended up being in boxing. Probably would have been shoveling concrete in New York, and Craig would be here talking on the phone, not to you. That's the way it is. That's the way life goes. That's the way boxing goes. Like you can't really. If you try to think about it, how close you are to losing sometimes, how close you are, how close you are to winning a fight. It just takes one slip of the head, one punch, one movement, and your whole career and your livelihood depends on it. So every time you step into that ring, if you make a big life decision, or like a normal person who works 9 to 5, they make a big life decision, they have to consult with their parents or their wife or their husband or anybody and say, look, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When you're in that ring, every moment you're moving and stepping and feinting and jabbing and setting up punches, you're making a big life decision because, like I said, it's Craig could be here and being an ex-world champion, or I could be, as I said, shoveling concrete in New York.
And talking of niche fights, just one from me as well. I remember driving down to your fights in Limerick. You were Afif Belgacham, Mamadou Thiam, Willie Gibbs. Some great nights there. Yeah.
I had some good fights, and they were great nights because it was on national TV here in Ireland, and so something that hasn't happened probably since then. And Limerick, the crowd used to be they were fantastic support, and there were always big events in the city. So yeah, there's some of the best memories. Yeah, I fought with Gibbs there, my comeback fight against Valero, and that was a last round knockout as well. Even though I was winning the fight, but it was a tough fight. He was coming on strong in the last round. I got him out of there. And yeah, some tough nights, but great nights, and and they're always fun memories of fighting there in Limerick.
We'll just end then with another question from Rapping Rob Kelly. He says, Andy, how do you think Manny would have done with Tyson Fury?
I think he would have done exactly what you saw in Sugar Hill. Like, to me, Sugar Hill's the closest thing to Emmanuel. Now, he's not Emmanuel. He has a lot of the same things, but Sugar Hill also has his own style. They're different in personalities, but in terms of coaching and philosophy, they're very similar. It was probably, I don't know, I'm sure Manuel would have looked, I know for a fact Manuel would have looked to train Tyson, but he was training Vladimir at the time, and Vladimir was the heavyweight champion of the world, and Manuel was loyal to him, and he wasn't going to train Tyson instead of Vladimir. So there was always obviously a conflict. He couldn't train both of them. And even when we were in training camp together, Manuel never let them spar or even be around each other too much. So he knew there was that kind of alpha male dominance thing. But yeah, I think Emmanuel would have done what you saw Sugar Hill do. And so I think, Sugar Hill is the embodiment now of Emmanuel, the closest thing to him now that he's not here anymore.
Yeah, well said. Insightful as always, Andy. We do appreciate you giving up your time on this Sunday evening to join us. Thank you, sir. No
problem. Anytime. Give me a call or get Rob to give me a call. I'll be back on anytime. Thank you very much, Steve. All the best.
Cheers, Andy. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Andy Lee there on the call. As I said, Rob, insightful as always. Thanks for hooking us up with Andy. Speaks well.
He's a gentleman, total gent. He's way too big for us with respect to us. like, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to fucking give up his time, but he did. He came on and, you know, spoke well as always. Like, I have to say, right, my mom passed away 10 years ago, and she was a big Andy Lee fan, and she knew that I'd be at the fights or whatever. Like, so she'd be always looking at his fights, and in our house, like, all the family watched the fights together. Like, so I find myself talking to her different times, you know, when they're watching a fight or whatever, and it's going the wrong way. And obviously, if I was totally invested in Andy, and that Andy Patterson brought that up tonight, the Craig McEwen fight. So it was a funny story. I wasn't going to say it to him on air or whatever, like, but I'd be talking to my man, the fight's not going well, and he was losing this fight, like, and he needed, the HBO boys are burning him, and I was like, he needs a knockout here. I was just like, oh, come on, man, will you? And just as I said it, he fucking threw out, knocked him out. Like, I started the sequence to knock him out with the big heavy knockdown. Like, so I just thought that was a funny story. But nice of him to say I was a big part of the camp. Obviously, I'm a big deal. I don't talk about it as much, and all the charity work and stuff I do, I don't really mention it. But that was nice of him to big me up there. So hope the listeners like that.
I remember one of the times, Rob, me and Cormac Campbell from irishboxing.com went down to one of Andy's fights, but we couldn't stay down there. So it was Belfast to Limerick, which is about, 4.5 hours each way.
Fucking hell.
Drove down there. I think it was maybe Tiam. You remember he bottled it after about 2 rounds.
Yeah, he said he had a back injury.
We're going back up the road. As it happens, Brian Peters has got Monster Energy on board promoting the show. So one of his assistants says, here, lads, you'll be needing a can of this to get you back up. I have never touched that stuff before or after, but I necked a can of Monster Energy, and I was flying all the way up till about Newry, and then I started to flag. We got in, and I'm pretty sure it was that night that Cotto was fighting Pacquiao, and we went round to somebody's house and watched that, and then I was in bed for about 8 o'clock in the morning, so there you go.
Steve was gangster tripping on the way back from Limerick. Wouldn't be the first one to make that Limerick to fucking Belfast journey. That was gangster tripping.
Especially the fucking border crossings anyway.
Oh, fucking hell. No,
under that chassis, sir.
Some great nights. As much as I wasn't a fan of Peters, he did put on some great nights in Limerick for Andy, and the atmosphere used to be unbelievable down there. Like, and I'd have a gig down there on the Friday, like, so because they know or whatever, like, that he'd been in the video, so they'd have me down in Limerick, do the gig on Friday, like the whole fucking fight party be out on the Friday night, and then the Saturday, like, you know, you just knew he was going to end the fight with a knockout. Like, even at Willie Gibbs, there was heart and mouth moments there. Like, as he said, Willie Gibbs was coming on strong, like, and he was sensing something, like, and he just pulled out a knockout again with the big left hand, like, so yeah, definitely had a great career. And shout out Andy for coming on.
The good thing about, if you're ever watching the Willie Gibbs fight, look closely at ringside, because there's a chap, Mark Doyle. He was from Dublin. He does football now over in Italy, I think, or South America. He's abroad anyway. And I'm pretty sure he had money on Andy Lee winning by knockout. And you mean Willie Gibbs, Rob, were you literally down to the last 10, 15 seconds when Lee was about to knock him out? Next thing you know, he gets the knockout, and you see Doyle at ringside jumping up and down. Delighted that his bet had come in, so Andy won him a few quid that night.
So I was at that one as well. Like, I was at that as well. I was like, and you know what? I made a show of myself in the fucking build up to it. Because as Andy said, like, I knew Manny, I knew Joey Gamacci and all. I'd be chatting there. I'd be there, like, for the fucking, but I'd be trying not to just, I didn't want to ever go to the fights with him, because I didn't want to be like a hanger on. So I'd see him at the hotel, and then I'd just go to the fight myself, and I'd end up seeing him randomly. But I'm there, right? And they're doing a draw for a signed Manuel Stewart glove. And it's in a big frame and everything, and they say ring D, and I look at my ticket and I go, so missus, that's me, like. She goes, get in the fucking ring, right? So I go and I get in the ring, and fucking your man's like ringside D, and I'm like, I'm ring D, like, and Brian Peters is there looking at me like, and Manny's like, oh shit, you won, no way, blah blah blah, and then, like, I had to cop it, that I hadn't won at all. I had to get out of the ring. So your one who I was with at the time, she's like, what happened? I'm like, nothing, just shut the fuck up, like, sit back down. And like a couple of fellas in front of me copped it, and they were turning around, and they were like, ah. So some little kid it was. I turned around, it was like some little kid, he was like fucking 7 or something. He was after winning it, and I was like, little bastard, like.
No, I know it's a bit self-indulgent telling these stories, but that's what you got to boxing for, is for the stories, and it brings back good memories. Like even talking to Emmanuel, obviously, you know, he's dead, and that the fact that I got to talk to him a couple of times. Joey Gamache as well was in the camp. Great guy, a real quietly spoken guy, very knowledgeable, and you get the chance to talk to this would have been 2009, 2010, something like that. That's why you go to boxing, isn't it, for these memories? Some characters along the way. Maybe I'll wheel out a few more stories.
And they were all gents. Every one of them were just like perfect gentlemen. Like all of them, Sugar Hill, Manny, Joey Gamache, Andy himself, Andy's brother Roger. Like all of them were just fucking pure gents. Like, so it was a pleasure to be around them. Yeah,
well said. Let's move on then. Aussie question flying in from Graham Taylor. I don't know what's happened to Donny. He tried hard, didn't he? But he wasn't to be. Anyway, Graham Taylor, he's talking
Something
about...
to do with sound, mate. Something that he can hear it, but it's like crackling in the background, you're saying in the chat there.
Okay, no problem. Well, I mean, he tried. We love Donny. Hopefully he'll come back at some point. Anyway, unfulfilled talents, Ozzy, is the question from Graham Taylor. He wants to know any talents you feel just didn't fulfill. I mean, you could maybe put someone like a Saunders in at this point. He's obviously been a world champion, but has he fulfilled the full potential that we thought he had? Possibly not. I'm going to throw in a guy that I often refer to, Joanne Guzman. Thought he was going to be superb when I first saw him. Did not turn out that way. Ike Bayabuchi, the big heavyweight, definitely is an unfulfilled talent, and Tony Ayala as well would be another one I'd throw in there, Ozzy.
Frankie Gavin. One for
Frankie
me.
Gavin, yeah.
Constantly fought at a weight too high. Couldn't live the life for possibly the most important part of his career, and ultimately probably tipped to go on and win world honours. I think he fought for a European title against Leonard Bundu down in Wolves, but fell short in that, and obviously won British and Commonwealth titles. But Gavin's probably the first one in terms of like talents that didn't reach the heights of what was expected. Was one. Open it up, Steve. There's going to be others that people will think of.
Valero
straight away.
Yeah, Valero definitely.
But I'll throw this one out, actually. Some of the old school guys, Rob, certainly, and you, Steve, should know these ones, actually, but I'll mention Tonio Ayala Jr. He was like a top amateur. I think he couldn't make the games because of the Olympic boycott. Was meant to fight... I don't know if he was meant to fight Duran at one point, but he was certainly in the mix from about that era at the time. By the time Duran fought Davy Moore, I think Moore was meant to fight Ayala, and obviously had problems with drugs and then sexual assault cases and stuff like that, and he went to prison for like 16 years, come out. Serious talent back in the day, but that kid had a lot of demons. I think there have been accusations that he'd been abused sexually as a kid as well, and it's just bad, man, honestly, God.
He's Paulie Ayala's brother, wasn't he, Andy?
It was, aye. But,
famous family, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but definitely won.
Kell Brook,
yeah,
probably one as well. I know he's won a world title, but in reality, I think Brook's record itself is pretty poor, and he could certainly go on. Well, could have gone on to achieve much bigger things than what he has done.
Mikey as well. You got to say Mikey Garcia. I thought at the time when Mikey Garcia beat Salido that time, he was so accurate, he was so classy. The selection of shots might have been a suggestion maybe that that Salido was coming back into it and they got out with the headbutt. But regardless of his performances at that time, I thought him by now would have had all the big fights and won all the titles. And what the fuck he has done with his career, I don't know. Like, because he had the talent and he's gone up and taken a beating off Earl Spence that he might not ever get over. He's avoided Lomachenko. He's fucking pissed Top Rank off to the point that he can't get a fight there. He's taken one fight deals here, one fight deal here, one fight deal there, one fight deal everywhere, a motherfucking one fight deal with Mikey Garcia. Like, just a complete waste of fucking talent. Like, what a fighter, like, and just fucking blew it. Like, over the last 5 years, it done fuck all. Like,
I'll give you two others, Steve. Harry Simon, you remember him?
Yes.
Harry Simon
killed some tourists in a car crash, didn't he?
Yeah, or a hit and run and stuff. After he came out of prison, he tried a comeback, and he faced kind of like defeated, weak opposition back in his own country and stuff. Never really made much. But I'll throw in as well. What's his name? Oh fuck! It was on the tip of my tongue there. Him at Spar Floyd. Spadafora.
Spadafora. Figuring he'd become a crackhead, didn't he?
Okay, well, we've seen a picture of him last year. They've been on what a mess he's in by a proper crackhead.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good one. That Francisco Panchito Bajado is one I always throw in. Oscar De La Hoya, he was going to be the new De La Hoya, wasn't he? Ricardo Williams as well. And what about Bernard Superbad Mays, the man who used to make Tommy Hearns dread coming into the gym every day?
What about Naz? Nazim Ahmed? In reality, didn't enjoy training, did extremely well, but when it got tough, he went on his way, things like that. Left Frank, went training with his brother, let outside things get involved. and then he had one fight after he got beat off Barrera, and then that was it, done. For me personally, I'm not saying he would have beaten Barrera, but he could have achieved a hell of a lot more. And he let outside influences ultimately take over. I mean, look at him now. I mean, it can be debated, but I certainly think I think other people would have, potentially agree that Naz could have achieved a lot more than what he did. It depends the way you look at it. I mean, some people will win a world title and are more than happy in what they've done. It's just they can go on and potentially do more, and I think that was one of them for Naz personally.
One fighter, Steve, one of the old school ones for featherweight days and stuff. I remember watching a video on YouTube just 2 weeks ago or something. Rolando Navarrete, he fought Canelo's Bozo Edwards back in the day. Anyway, after he had problems outside the ring, obviously money and stuff, but he ended up doing 3 years in the US prison for rape, and he was involved in numerous complaints like wife battery and drugs and stuff. Back home in the Philippines, he does a bit of fishing, trying to kind of keep himself kind of affluent and stuff. But yeah, he's kind of living in poverty at the minute and that as well. So yeah, Navarrete back, one of the old proper featherweight guys when it was at its peak back in the early 80s, late 70s and stuff.
Talking about when podcasting was his peak, I see Brian King and Shep in the chat there, going back old school, party like it's 2015.
1989 again, boys.
I had Lania Solis, Chris Butler, that's one I was going to say. I was talking about him the other week. That's a joke that he should have definitely done something with himself.
Who's that again?
Waste of space. I had Lania Solis.
Oh, aye. Oh, without doubt. I mean, I'll not take up much time here with this one, but see, that Klitschko fight, that was one of the biggest disappointments ever because you were expecting Klitschko to get tested for the first time in ages, and it fucking ends like that. I was never as gutted. Well, sorry, that was one of the fights I've been absolutely gutted that ended that way, so to speak. I wanted to see him just stretched, and there was a lot of talent there, and it was like, he could be the guy, but no, it was just, again, these Cubans,
These Cubans, yeah, Robesi Ramirez looks
Mike
like
Perez.
he could be going the same way.
Mike Perez as well. I mean,
Yeah.
Abdul Salamov absolutely ended him.
That fight
That's
ended
him.
like,
It did.
but he had the potential, man. He was good, Mike Perez. Like, he was good. I think, but that fight was just, he lost it that night. Like, didn't he? Remember the Povetkin one as well? Like, he got fucking absolutely struck with the right hand of rides through fucking Russia. Like, I remember Povetkin getting out of the limo in the build up to that. He just looked like a big giant anabolic steroid. His fucking head, like, he with that HGH, like his head was like one of the fucking football superstars. Like, he just got out the limo and his head got out like fucking 10 minutes later. Like, he was juiced to the max, wasn't he? Like, and then he got popped in, didn't he, immediately after that, and that fucked up the Wilder fight. Like,
He fought
that actually ended up with you being the host, Steve. See, I know that from when I was
Yeah, I know. God, that's what you have to blame, everybody.
Yeah, well, the Povetkin, I was raging at that. I was fucking fuming at that, by the way. Honestly, God. Oh, shit, man. Honestly, God. I remember the wife was away for him for that time, actually. She'd actually left me because I was raging about it. Nah, I'm joking. She was in Norway. She was in Norway for a couple of weeks seeing the family, and that I refused to go. But, when that came down, I went on a bender for 2 days. I couldn't fucking believe it. Fuming. Proper fuming at that fucking thing.
The bender was fuming as well, I heard.
Oh, what? Wilder as well. At least he was wanting to travel. He came to the UK. It was part of his leg. He was going to train in the UK, then move over to Russia like day of the fight or 2 days before the fight, whatever it was. Fuck me, man. Fuck me. But what other fights? Yeah, I was raging. He didn't bring that shit back up again, man. Honestly, God. And didn't bring up the Froch Groves fucking first fight ending again ever. No my presence.
No, we've got Rob. Before we move on, actually, just to circle things round nicely tonight on the Andy Lee theme. Mike Perez once fought twice in one night on an Andy Lee undercard in Limerick. I asked Peters what the deal was, why he fought twice on the same show, and he says, "Well, they're doing prize fighter over in the UK, aren't they? And they're fighting 3 times a night." So I thought, why not ask the Boxing Union of Ireland? So they are Perez, Rob, fighting twice in one night. Do you think you could fight in one night?
Well, I was there for one of those knockouts, and the fella that he knocked out, I'd say I could hang with him, put it that way. He said he was a fucking Latvian, he was a fucking Latvian in about 10 seconds, so I think I could give him a round or two, I think.
Wasn't great, was it? Wasn't great. Yeah, before we go on to this Canelo Triple G2 discussion then, let's get another round of WBA champion or serial killer in. Mihal Reedy, friend of the pod. Seen this done before. If you're looking for something, WBA champion or serial killer, Mihal then went and put together a little list for us. So we've got Ozzy on the call, Andy as well, rapping Rob Kelly, episode 370, WBA champion or serial killer. First one to you. Who should we go with? Andy, we'll go with you first then, shall we? Are you ready?
Always, mate. Always.
Always ready for WBA champion or serial killer. So the first one up is Luis Garavito. Luis Garavito.
Luis Garavito. Is he WBA champion or serial killer? I'm going to say serial killer.
Luis Garavito. Andy says serial killer. He's absolutely correct. Sounds like quite the character, this guy. Mihal has done his research. This was a child murderer and rapist, torturous killer, confessed to killing 140 boys between the ages of 8 and 16. So Luis Garavito, quite
Tell
busy
me he
there.
got the death penalty, by the way.
I haven't got any further information, but hopefully whatever happened to him, it wasn't pretty.
I'm going to Google him. Luis Garavito. Okay, hang on a second here. I'm going to read this out live on air. Right, here we go. Luis Garavito. Goofy is his name. Criminal penalty. 1,850 years in prison, reduced to 22 years for collaboration on the prohibition of life. Fuck off. I mean, you try to tell me he kills so many kids, abused, not that sort of stuff. He does. That sounds like an American fucking prison sentence. 1,800 years.
Sounds like a bit of a Mark Dutroux Belgian rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Could end up going down there. He obviously had some kind of fucking. Let's not speculate, but you know what I'm getting at.
Plenty of skeletons in that closet anyway. Fucking hell.
140 to be precise. I know that's terrible, isn't it? Like, but
I mean, come on. 22. He gets 1,853 years reduced to 22 years. I mean, who the fuck did they grass in? The fucking president, Escobar. Fucking. He's fucking cicadas. Fuck. What the fuck?
The COVID lockdown better lift soon. I don't know where the fuck we're going to end up.
I know. I'm talking about cicadas and hitmen and stuff like that. What the fuck,
True
man?
crime asylum. That could be a spin-off for the Patreons. Come on.
I just tried to put something in the chat here and it says YouTube has rejected your comment. This usually means they think you're spam. Try changing it up a bit. So we're getting blocked off our own feed here for spam. Fuck's sake. Anyway,
I got that one. I'm 1-0 so far. Great stuff.
You'll want to know. You're doing well. Right, Ozzy, let's see if you can keep this run going. What about Layman Benavides? I'm assuming it's a fella. Layman Benavides. What do you think, Oz? Are you a champion or serial killer?
I'm going to go serial killer.
Ozzy says serial killer for Layman Benavides. Sorry to disappoint you, Ozzy, but he's the WBA minimum weight gold champion. That could be. Is that worse than being a serial killer? Being the WBA minimum weight gold champion?
It means you're going to take at least anyway, you know.
Bloody hell. There we are. Yeah, Layman Benavides. Right, let's get on with it then, Rob. On to you. What about this young lady? Is she punching or is she killing? Tamara Samsonova, WBA champion or serial killer? Tamara Samsonova.
I think that sounds like a WBA regular belt holder in the Obanov category. Something like that kind of a flavour. What we're saying here.
Well, Rob,
Granny Ripper.
Let me tell you, Flavour is more like it. She's known as the Granny Ripper. She killed and ate people in her apartment.
Great boxing nickname, that one.
The Granny Ripper. No so much the Granny Shagger, the Granny Ripper.
Oh dear. Right, okay.
Man.
So we're 1 and 2. Andy, you're keeping the side going. No Googling now. Come on, no Googling.
I'm no.
So
I Googled once.
Right. We've heard of Sergei Kuzmin.
Patterson's on the juice for this one, like, fuck's sake. He's not
We've
going
heard
to
of
test clean for this.
I'm on the old pump
We've
there.
heard of Sergei Kuzmin.
I just drained the bottle there, actually. Fuck me, man.
Right, Andy. Come
Right.
on. WBA, sorry if I can say it, champion or serial killer. We've heard of Sergei Kuzmin, but what about Vladimir Kuzmin? He could be his brother. He might not be. Who knows? Vladimir Kuzmin.
Vladimir Kuzmin. Never heard him, so I'm going to go serial killer.
Vladimir Kuzmin. He's doing things outside of the ring, murdered at least 7 people, also raped and robbed young boys. Sounds lovely. Vladimir Kuzmin.
That's
is
the
a serial
last
killer.
3 by who've been rapists. What the fuck is wrong with the guy who sent these questions in? Has he been visiting the fucking dark web or something like that with all these questions? You need to expose yourself here, young man. What the fuck?
It's Michael Reedy, friend of the pod. He's been doing the research, Andy, so we don't have
Yeah,
to.
well, you got to respect the guy who does the research, you know.
Exactly. A bit of respect. Well, we've got
What's
one
he
each.
researching though? That's the main question. What the fuck are you researching? BA, serial killers, rapists. What the fuck?
Right, Rob. No, not Rob. Sorry, Ozzy. On to you. Let's see if you can get it one here then. We've got Myelin Rivas, young lady. Myelin Rivas. She's been keeping busy. Is it inside the ring or outside the ring? WBA champion or serial killer?
Not a clue, so I'm going serial killer.
Myelin Rivas. Sorry to disappoint you, Robbie. Ozzy. She hasn't killed anybody. She's the WBA Super Bantamweight Women's Champion.
That's
GW.
yeah.
Absolutely. WBA champion.
Steve, just before we check the chat, I've got a request coming in.
Let's have a look.
Let's get him on to see if he's going to fucking step up.
Okay. I might have to open that in a minute. Just need to keep things rolling with rapping Rob Kelly. Who've we got here then? Rob. Oh, Rob's gone. He's had enough.
He's have to call the wee one, apparently.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Might have to go to you then, Andy. Let's have a
Okay.
quick look here, see what the crack is. Right. While you're looking, I shall look at this while you are answering this final one we have from Michael Reedy, WBA champion or serial killer. Wang Qiang. What do you reckon, WBA
Wang
champion or serial killer?
Qiang. Wang Qiang sounds like a Chinese or maybe South Korean, but I'm going to roll him 2-0. I'm going to say serial killer.
Serial killer Andy, you're undefeated, unbeaten, TBE tonight, 3-0. Wang Qiang killed 45 and raped, naturally, 10 from 1995 to 2003. He was at his peak. Wang Qiang is a serial killer.
Who asked these questions as to dissect this? Because I'm serious, I want to know where he's getting his research for. They're all rapists, man. What the fuck?
Well, got to keep things going on a Sunday night somehow, Andy.
But I just want to ask the question. Is it dark web material?
Maybe. I used to work with a fella years ago in Wolverhampton, Pat Timmons, I think you called him. Probably shouldn't name him, but anyway, he's not going to be listening. And he used to work in a hospital, and rumour has it he used to take his dinner down in the morgue. He used to sit with the mortician and have his sandwiches, and he knew everything about serial killers, this guy. I mean, he collected all... You remember those magazines you used to get with the videos? And he would always throw the most random things in, like, oh yeah, that reminds me of that 7-year-old or whatever you called her. She was abducted, and like he knew everything about the serial killers. And I always had a few suspicions. I often wonder what happened to him.
You often wonder if he was necrophiliac or something like that.
I don't know.
You know,
it's a bit bizarre.
I mean, if he's willing to eat his fucking piece in front of dead bodies and that, he's likely to insert something somewhere else. The dirty fuckers.
Other than that, he was a nice fella, to be honest.
I can imagine, no problem. In the correct ambience and atmosphere, he'd be fucking fantastic. I'd imagine he'd be a great dude. But eating your lunch with dead people, there's a bit of a question of one's sanity there. Like,
Hi, Curly Watts says, I wonder if he won a WBA title. Jason Chukwu says Steve Wellings was probably in Broadmoor with Jimmy Savile. What a horrible thing to say.
Jimmy
Isn't
Savile.
that nasty, Andy? Fancy saying that to somebody.
I know. I mean, Jimmy Savile. I mean, Christ's sake, that guy put his cigars places where they wanted to smoke it from.
That's a disgusting thing to say to anybody.
Exactly.
Jason. If I could time you out, I would for that. That's really nasty. That is. I can't believe that. We're gonna have to move on, Andy, shall we?
We need to.
Good old Chukwu. Well, let's get on to Canelo versus Triple G Part 2 before we move on to Value of the Weeks and Out of Here for episode 370. Ozzy's still with us, Andy as well. I'm still working on trying to get this fellow on. I'm having to go over to the laptop. You see, it's a whole big hoo-ha. Okay, so I watched it today. with Russian commentary, Daily Motion. I wanted to hear the crowd, didn't want to hear the commentators to be swayed. At the time of the fight, I listened to it on BT Sport, watched it as well, obviously. I thought Canelo probably nicked it on the replay, on my rewatch, in fact, Andy. I'm going to say I had it 116, 112 to Gennady Golovkin. Am I absolutely bonkers, Andy? What do you think?
No, I had that 116, 112 as well. I watched it HD last night. HBO feed, unfortunately. And when I say unfortunately, I mean by mentioning Max Kellerman. I can't mind what I had it originally. I'm sure I had it either a draw or maybe I had Canelo just shading it, but that was the first time I watched it since I went live. And one of the fights was up at late at night watching as well. But to me, Kellerman was right on Canelo's nuts because he was standing centre ring, trying to come forward, trying to be more aggressive. And in the days, I think he was more impressed with what Canelo was doing, like punch-wise. But even though Canelo looked impressive, it was very, very close. Some of those rounds, I mean, I could count at least 3-4 rounds that could have went either way. Either way you wanted to fucking swing it. So I could see both guys winning the fight. On repeat of this, I had it 116, 112, like yourself. It's probably a fight that they probably cancelled each other out at some points. For example, if you had Golovkin landing a right hand, Canelo would quickly come back with his own right hand. Whereas Triple G would work on the jab. You could see Canelo working maybe 3-punch combos upstairs and rip it to the body. But I did think as the fight wore on, especially around about rounds 9 and 10, specifically round 10 and onwards, that I thought Canelo's output dropped. Certainly there wasn't as much sting in his shots that he was throwing in the early half of the fight, trying to be more aggressive. I thought, I'm going to say the last 4 rounds at least, I thought Golovkin, not so much a beating, but it was more a kind of emphatic as to how he threw his punches. There was more telling blows. I did think like round 7 and 8 were pretty much the same, whereas they both had their own kind of pockets of success. But round 10 was a definite solid round to Golovkin, landing the heavy blows, hurting. I thought he hurt Canelo in that round as well, actually. Round 11, again, another round I thought that he was landing heavy, Golovkin. Canelo keeps trying to come forward. Maybe that's what's kind of, if you look at the scoring, I think that's the reason why they probably gave it to Canelo, because he was coming forward, being more aggressive than it was in the first fight. He was up against the ropes, trying to kind of counter off him and stuff like that. But I just thought like the last 3 rounds, the shots for Golovkin were fucking solid punches. It says it all, as well as if there was only one judge in that entire fight that scored the 12th round to Canelo. If he had scored it to Golovkin, we would have had another draw. And that meant the third fight would need to have happened. And off the back end of it, I can see why Canelo is now saying, fuck him. He's not wanting to give him a three-peat or a third fight because he's talking shit and all that sort of stuff. Because at the end of the day, he knows it's a heavy weather fight. And okay, we can say that he is declining Golovkin, and okay, if he goes up in class, it might show. But I've seen for that fight, and I think you might agree with me actually, that Canelo got it handed to him a little bit in those last few rounds. And does he want that?
I was surprised, Andy. I was really surprised by what I was seeing, because I went in expecting. I was expecting something completely different, and I've heard the narrative since, and I know some people are trolling, but I couldn't believe it. I was surprised in myself that I would scored it on the back of my Cocoa Pops box with a pencil.
Yeah, as Lead Alcohol at Front says, as Kellerman was obsessed with the storyline, because he asked the fucking question. It's like, the story of the fight, Golovkin may be winning the fight, but he's not winning the story of the fight. But what the fuck is that? It just proves that Kellerman's a wanker. And the first person I thought about when I listened to Kellerman talk was George Foreman. You're a homer. Just, if you've got your favourite, but didn't make it so fucking obvious. Watch what you're watching. And as I said, what I've seen, okay, there was easy peaks. Some of those rounds were easy peaks, very, very, very close rounds, competitive rounds, world-class competitive prize fighting. I forgot how good this fight was. And I'm saying to myself as well, I remember it was 2018 that fight was. It was fight of the year. And I'm saying to myself, that wasn't the fight of the year. I watched that back last time and said, well, yeah, I can see that being fight of the year because you got two top guys. Okay, one might be slightly removed from his prime, the other one who's meant to be in his prime, and it was competitive. First 6-7 rounds, it was very, very topsy-turvy. But in the end, I thought Golovkin just turned the screw later half of that fight, and to me, he won it. And I can see why he's pissed off. So there was respect in the fight. Actually, I didn't see this contrived beef, shall we say, that's going on in the press at the minute, because there was a couple of shots that might have been flagrant or maybe low, or maybe a shot after a clinch or a breakup or at the end of the bell or whatever, and respect was given by both parties. And even at the end of the fight, they both embraced, gave each other due respect. And I just think it was the decision at the end of the day that because Golovkin fucked off right after, but that was bad sport for him. He should have stayed in the ring and gave his opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know, that's
a bad look. That is, I think.
That is Cotto-esque. That is just poor losers and stuff like that. Be a man and fucking make your point. You won the fight and be fucking true to it. I can understand the emotions at the time and that maybe kind of think clearly, but end of the day, it's just say, listen, I won that fight. If I lost it, then it must have been a close decision. And as I say, 3-4 rounds of that fight could be very, very, very close. And it could have went either way. And I can see maybe why Canelo maybe got the nod, but it's what you like. And as I say, as well as what we mentioned last week with the Burns-Gonzalez fight, for example, what I saw ringside to what I saw on telly was different. So those judges had the unenviable task of trying to get that sorted properly. And looking back, I don't know if it's corruption or just incompetence, but it must have been really hard to get some of those close rounds scored to the right person. But to me, yeah, I thought Golovkin won it. But hopefully we get to see it again, because I was like, I didn't want to see a third fight. But after seeing that last night, yeah, I want to see a third fight straight away, as soon as possible.
I want to see a third fight as well. Just before we bring Rob in, let's have a look what the boys are saying in the chat room. Lee, the Alcoholic Frotch says, Kellerman was obsessed with the storyline of both fights, i.e. Canelo's supposed to win for the future of boxing. Yeah, I think that's a good point, actually. Dave Tricks had it 115, 113 to Triple G. Stacey King is adding a lot of value in there. Who else have we got here? Sam Shepherd, I think he was going with Triple G as well. Chukwu, not really offering much either tonight, Chukwu. You're going to have to up your game in there, I think. Spot on, says Kaiser Koba. Storyline is bullshit. Just because Canelo comes forward and Triple G don't mean shit. Triple G was walking Canelo into jabs and right hands. Joe Kennedy is getting stuck in as well. Sam Shepherd as well, Rob says, the real shame of it is that this terrible scoring in the first fight cost us two amazing trilogies between Triple G and Canelo and Ward versus Kovalev. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that, to be honest. Rob, Triple G versus Canelo 2, did you go back and watch it? If not, just throw in anything any feelings you have around the fight.
Yeah, no, I went back and watched it, but I just see it differently. Like, I don't know. I just see
that's fair enough. Go ahead.
Canelo dominating the fight in the middle of the ring for the first 7 rounds. Give or take, Golovkin, I think, had a strong end of the second round and a strong fourth round. But I think after 6, I had him 4-2 down. Then he does come on strong in the second half of the fight, but I think Canelo already had those 2 rounds in the bag. So I had a 150, 130 Canelo, and I was begrudging giving that to Canelo because the Mexican meat scandal was very, that was it. That had cost the fight to get pushed back. And in the first place, because Canelo got popped, so it robbed us of the fight straight away. And I was very sour over that after being a fan of Canelo. So I didn't, but I just couldn't see him losing the fight. Like I remember saying after the first one that he was going to win the second one if he could hold the center of the ring, but he did more than that even. And I thought he even out Golovkin in the first 7 rounds of the fight. So he did come on strong, but I said it last week. I think Golovkin looked hesitant enough, tentative enough in the first half of the fight that it was obviously something. Canelo had enough to keep him off him, and Canelo a lot of the time was having the last say in the combination. So Golovkin's doing some good work, but even if Canelo's not responding with it as clean work, he's still throwing something back at the end of every exchange. I don't know. I just thought it was a clear enough win for Canelo.
If you heard it in the corner, actually, you could see like the Reynoso saying, "Look, listen, you're younger than him, and you can see Golovkin at times kind of blown heavy in the corner. But I get what Rob's saying. It's because he took centre ring, and to some observers, especially in America, The aggressiveness, the fighter who's coming forward will always get the benefit of the doubt. And you need to remember, people who say Hopkins beat Calzaghe, that is the same argument as to why Calzaghe won that fight, because he was aggressive, he was coming forward, he was pushing the fight, and because Golovkin wasn't as urgent, I think, Rob, as to when Canelo was landing, he was back on the jab, but he wasn't like counting with hooks to the body and left hooks upstairs.
Exactly.
It was back on the jab. It was back to textbook boxing.
But the perception, that's the point I was just going to make. The perception
the story of the fight.
But the perception of Golovkin as a boxer is he boxes when he boxes David Lemieux, and he just sticks him on the jab, bang, 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 and does what he wants, and then fucking takes him out whenever he wants to. But he wasn't able to do that to Canelo, so people are giving maybe Canelo more credit. But it's like he tries to take the back foot, and he doesn't look as good going backwards suddenly against Canelo when there's fucking left hooks getting dug into the body and trying to, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just saw signs of aggression that night in Golovkin, and I thought that was the kind of beginning and the end.
Do you want to jump in, Ozzy? Anything to add? I don't know if you watched it or not, but any feelings at the time, perhaps?
No, I wasn't on last week, so I didn't watch it in terms of trying to catch up. From memory, looking back, I know for the first fight, I definitely scored it to Golovkin, and I'm sure from, again, looking back, I had it a draw. I'm just trying to watch, like bits of it now, and funnily enough, Andy said about round 10, and round 10 came up, and it was a very good round for Golovkin. But I'm just looking at an interesting one on the scorecards. And it's just picking up on a point in the chat as well, that only one judge in the two fights had Golovkin winning, and that was Dave Moretti in the first fight. The best Golovkin could get after that was a draw. That was off Glenn Feldman, Don Trella. We all know about the Adelaide Bird 118-110 card, which was a disgrace. From that perspective. And then obviously Moretti and Weisfeld scored it 115-113 to Canelo as well. So it shows what needs from what I would say, essentially, there's no, like we don't dislike Canelo or anything like it. It's not something we hate on. We'll call it fair, no bias or anything like that. That only one person from a judging perspective scored it to Golovkin. It was either a draw or Canelo from that. It just shows what really needs to be done to beat Canelo out in America. I mean, fuck me. In the Mayweather fight, what was it then? I'm sure, was it a majority decision then? Someone scored it a draw. It's like what really, really needs to be done.
That cost CG Ross her career by 114.
Yeah, exactly.
That was unforgivable. That was worse for me.
That was shocking, mate.
Quite
that was
right.
Disgraceful.
Do you know what? We banged on about bad judging. Quite fucking right. It cost her a career as well, because it was horrendous and absolutely. And it's one of the only times you see a judge, essentially thrown into the wilderness and just essentially fucked off. But good, because judges are not held accountable for enough. You see dodgy cards and things like that. And look, one round either way. I mean, you score another round on the Moretti and Weisfeld cards, and it's a draw. Fine. You can, it's by the by. But when you see obscene cards like 118, 110 in the first fight by Bird, the CJ Ross card, people get sick of it. But it just shows as well, you were talking about people on the back foot then. We were talking up this Saunders-Canelo fight, and, people giving Saunders a chance. Looking back over these things, now, I don't give Saunders a chance whatsoever. I used to think he's, at 160 he could have a fight, but he's not going to win that fight on the back foot. Absolutely no chance. He just won't get, the credit he may potentially deserve as well, because he's nigh on. It sounds weird, but unbeaten. He's favoured by the judges naturally. As we say, a lot of people felt Golovkin won the first fight, and there's a hell of an argument here he won the second fight. Naturally, Rob thinks otherwise. But it shows how difficult a man he is. And don't get me wrong, he's a very good fighter, but how difficult a man he is to beat when ultimately you're going in against three judges already, particularly, if it's going to be close. I'm going to watch it again and I'll feedback next week, because I think I need to watch it.
Yeah, do that, mate, because I've been interested to know your input, because I'm going to say off that performance by Canelo, and okay, he lost the fight, but some of the input... So some of the output they had and the combinations and the body shots and stuff, If he's able to catch Saunders with even a tenth of what he caught Golovkin with, I'd be willing to say, especially 168, I'm willing to say fucking stop him. 160 might be a different story, but I just can't see Saunders lasting the full 12 rounds, goes round about a ring without Canelo catching him. He's going to run out of gas at some point. He doesn't live the life. Okay, and that's the other thing.
We know, Andy, as well, that Isufi rocked him as well at 168. And as you say, he just doesn't live the life. I always said, and I openly said, at 160, I gave Saunders a chance because that's his natural weight. And he's shown he's got skills and he can move. But I think that extra 8 pounds will not benefit Billy Joe and it will benefit Canelo. And I think it will be overwhelming for him. And as you say, Andy, I don't think he'll either box and move and keep out the way for 12 rounds and just, pop little shots out and then moan at the end that he was never given the credit, or he'll get overwhelmed and stopped.
But then again, you end up with the same Golovkin situation. You got Kellerman, for example. If Canelo takes it, if Saunders can't take center ring, he's not winning the fight. If he's gonna probe on the outside on the perimeter and just jab and maybe throw a left hand and stuff and then move again, that's not going to win him the fight. Canelo's just going to stalk him, get him in the corner, rip off a few shots, and we've seen Canelo being defensively responsible. He's learning, he's at his peak at the minute and stuff. I just think, there's no way at this point, regardless of weight, that Saunders would last him.
You're right. Like a lot of the time with American judges, if evasion is your main tactic, they view that as not ring generalship because you're only trying to avoid being attacked and your output is not great, and the other guy's forcing the movement and stuff like that and putting you in position. So they always give the ring generalship and the effective aggression to the guy that comes forward in the States. That's been the way for fucking since the dawn of time over there.
Exactly.
Like. You know what I mean? So the come forward fighter gets the story of the fight. Like.
Saunders can't hurt him either. As you mentioned, Dan, I mean, one thing I've just seen them from like a quick highlights package, the chin they both showed in that second fight.
Serious beards on display in that fight.
Huge shots. Both of them did. And it shows, how well they can take a shot.
And Alvarez is ripping that body like he's ripping it like a motherfucker. He honestly is trying to massage it like there's no tomorrow.
He caught him with a left hook in the second round and Golovkin's eyes just went like, oh, kind of like in slow-mo replay.
But
you love the way they shake the head as well. If they take one on the
brilliant.
They just shake the head and just think, no, nothing. And then they just come forward again. But Saunders, he just doesn't have that pop. So you just think, you can't keep him off him. What the hell is he going to do? And I think the more you look back at fights and things like that, it just opens it up a bit more, really. And there's nothing that I can see from, particularly, he's not a 168 fighter. Canelo's not a 168 fighter either. But
apart from Floyd, the only time we've ever seen him outboxed is against Lara, and Lara did too much negative shit in the fight. I thought he won by a round, but I thought he did wait. You could understand why people would not give it to him because he just evasion again, just pure evasion, not wanting to engage him.
I thought he beat Lara, to be honest.
On the night I had it a round for Lara, I think, or a draw, but you couldn't imagine. Amir Khan did it to him in spells. You couldn't imagine that Billy Joe will be able to do that to him for 12 rounds. You just couldn't imagine a scenario where Canelo doesn't get to him. And I think, all right, Billy Joe has a beard too. Like, he can take a shot, I think. But at 68, as the boys said, like Canelo's combinations and stuff, you have to, and the body shots. How's he going to avoid those body shots as well? Like, you know what I mean? Canelo's one of the best in the business of setting up that left hand to the body. Like, one of the best out there at the moment. Whips it in like a fucking bolo shot right in the bread basket. So, no, I couldn't see Billy Joe living with Canelo over 9 rounds. I think he'd be exposed.
You mentioned Khan then though as well, but Khan, Khan had the speed and things like that. And Khan, I'm sure I had Khan winning, but then he obviously ended up on the floor and just could barely move.
That is a good point. That about hey, go back to that. No many people, people say, "Oh, Khan's chin is fuck." Remember, but see when he got iced, he was fucking 5-0 up.
Yeah.
Fucking fact. He was 5-0 up.
I picked him to win. He was carrying out my blueprint.
Listen to it, people. Amir Khan was 5-0 up against Canelo Alvarez and then got iced. I mean, proper flatlined. Donnie never spoke to me for like fucking fortnight. I swear to God, they blocked me on Facebook, blocked my number. I was messaging him before I leave the messages and stuff. He fucking hated me for a fortnight. I was trolling him like fuck. But whoa. Yep.
I remember thinking that was going to be a public execution. I was surprised at how
It
well Khan
was.
did. Yeah, I know it wasn't in the end, but I was surprised how well Khan did up to that point. Like, he really was having his way with him, but just couldn't fucking. There was no way he was not going to catch him. Like, Wright was on the wall. Like, you could see from some of the shots Canelo was throwing and missing that he was going to get him eventually. Like, I'm here with that shit up in the air, baby.
Oh, what a knockout. Listen, and Alvarez as well, fair play, took a knee next to him. Yeah, that's a bit of respect.
Closed his
You know,
eyes.
I thought he killed
no,
him.
but the thing is, man, the thing is, you under a shot like that, you fucking know when you connect clean, man. You're like, fuck, dude, and you see him go down like that, like, and you see him like breathing heavy. You're like, fucking hell, the ghost appears. You are fucked. You just go on your knee, like, brah, come on, pull through. That's what that was a type of moment. It was lethal. As I say, he was winning the fight easily winning that fucking fight.
I tell you what, though,
and Khan does, he makes a mistake and he gets chinned,
Yeah. Just relating back to the point on the cards though, Andy, as well. So I'm just looking at this Khan one now. So Adelaide Bird had Khan winning 48-47. Third had Canelo winning 48-47. And Glenn Trowbridge had Canelo winning 49-46.
Yeah.
So it shows, I mean, look, I'm sure I can't pretty much win.
It was either 5-0 or 4-1.
Jesus Christ.
At least.
Yeah.
Come on. It was 5-0 or 4-1.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So it shows, that you're not knocking this guy out. I mean, you need to hit him with a fucking crowbar or something like that, and still then I think he'd come marching forward as well. So it really shows the job you have got to do to get the credit on the cards to beat this guy.
I'll tell you, just a shout out, Khan, not a bad fighter to rewatch during quarantine times, because whatever fucking happens, you're going to get something interesting along the way. Like, he's either going to knock someone out or he's going to get fucking his back out himself. And
watch it while the Lemon fight tomorrow. Watch it tomorrow. The Lemon fight. Jesus Christ. He took a knee twice in that fight off the same punch.
That's right.
Fucking did.
Willie Lemon, no disrespect to him, wouldn't fucking smash eggs with a hammer. Like, he had him fucking all over the shop.
I tell you, here's a wee story, right? So Willie Lemon, he offered the Morales fight on like late notice, and it's in Mexico, obviously, it's above sea level. And he's like, I'm fucked. He's like, he lasted 6 rounds, but I tell you what, he lasted an impression on Morales. Morales actually used him as a sparring partner for fucking Maidana.
Wow.
Oh, Willie was tough. Remember he fought Alex Arthur, didn't he, when he was unbeaten? That was, yeah.
Remember, he fought Curtis Woodhouse. He won the British or the Commonwealth that night as well. And
Gomez as well, he fought, didn't he?
He was fucking fantastic that night, by the way.
Right, let's move on then, boys. So that was Canelo Golovkin 2. I'm going to go back at some point and watch Canelo Lara again, because a lot of people have mentioned it to me. I thought Canelo won it at the time, but I mean, I'm not that bothered. I'm not going to argue with anybody. I will go back and watch it, I think, and maybe change my opinion. As of next week, if we get round to it, the fight we'll be looking back at is the first fight between Carl Froch and George Groves. So if anybody in the panel or in the chat wants to go back over that masterpiece and have another watch, then feel free. We'll discuss it in the same capacity, maybe a bit shorter, probably not longer than we did Canelo versus Triple G2. So go back and watch Froch against Groves if you want. Also, if you're listening live in the YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button if you like what we're doing, or hit the dislike button if you think we're shit. That's fine, no problem at all. A few more questions before we go into Value of the Weeks, and then we shall get out of here for episode 370. Rapping Rob Kelly, Declan Graffin is asking you, does Rob think that Oscar should pump the brakes with Ryan Garcia? Gervonta would surely smash him to bits, and how would he fare against the likes of Jason Souza or Gamboa?
Impartial person to ask that question to Steve.
He'd be bathing in tears after a loss. I think I'm kind of warming to him in a way, because he did a little Instagram video about rehearsing how he was going to knock out Tank Davis. It was very impressive. So if he could do it, I'm going to be his #1 fan. So I say make the fucking fight happen. If they're good enough, if they're old enough, they're good enough. Like, that's just it. He's talking all the talk. His last fight he won emphatically. I definitely think he can fight. Like, he is a little shit. Like, but I don't care about that if he does it in the ring. Like, he's the kind of guy that, in a way, it's weird. Like, because he is like one of these kind of YouTubers. Like, isn't he? Like, he's like Quiff Richards, isn't he? With the quiff and all. Like, he's like, but he's kind of needed in a way to draw the casual fans in, and he seems to have a fucking huge fan base. He was able to renegotiate his contract with Golden Boy on Instagram or whatever the fuck, like, and had his man on YouTube and all fighting his case, and he gets a big deal from Golden Boy. So they've invested in him early, like, so you would hope they want to see returns quicker rather than later. Like, I don't think he's already fucking doing big numbers. If they can turn him into a world champion, like, the sky's the limit for him if they match him right. So I don't think that fight's anywhere near. They're not going to fucking make that fight, like, but I think I'd have to see maybe him in one more fight before I'd make a call on him against Tank. But not saying Tank Davis shouldn't, but that cunt's going to be fucking 160 pounds by the end of quarantine. Like, so you wouldn't know what fucking weight he's going to come back at. Like.
Got Burger King on lockdown.
So, baby bro, eating those fucking hamburgers.
Oh, God, him, yeah.
He'd gladly pay a Tuesday for a fucking hamburger.
He wants to be socially distancing from Bono if he's doing one thing, I hope.
I think that's not bad advice for everyone. So be socially distant from Broner, fighters, fucking rappers, whatever.
At least 9 inches away at all times.
Yeah. AB, baby. AB level fighter in quarantine. Yeah, so I like Ryan Garcia as a fighter, but as like any fighter that went, like, he better do it in the ring if you're going to be fucking sending your missus texts saying, I guess you're just going to bathe in these tears because I'm so upset that you fucking slept with some dude. Fucking hell, man. Gotta have thicker skin than that fucking Ryan Garcia. These hoes ain't loyal. That's the fucking game, baby. To be sold, not told.
Yes, my opinion for what it's worth, I think Davis has the potential to be an excellent pound-for-pound level fighter, but will he piss it up the wall beforehand? Who knows? As for Garcia, I think he's better than people give it credit for because of the pretty boy looks. I think he can fight and he can punch. Wouldn't pick him to beat Davis now. I think Davis is a lot more mature in the ring, but Garcia, I think he brings the ladies in, and he can fight a bit too, so I'm not completely down on him.
And then that Latina fan base that's needed. On
that Oscar fan base, even more so, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you need that, baby.
Yeah. Ozzy, question for you from Richard Allen over on Twitter. He says, what's the worst boxing bet you've ever made? If anyone can beat the 40 quid I invested on Big Audley to keep David Hay on the jab, a la Klitschko, to outpoint the cruiserweight, then I'll be delighted. Oh dear, that's a low bar there from Richard.
Fucking hell, that is a bad one. 40 quid on Audley. It depends what you mean by bad. Is bad a losing bet? Not necessarily. I remember back in Brett Fido, like a journeyman to beat like an up-and-coming prospect, and he got absolutely battered. What else was another bad one? I've had a couple of bad ones. Matty Askin to beat Lawrence Okoli, never really in it. Garbage fight, though. Again, had reasons for backing. I'm trying to think of anybody I've stuck money on. It was just a complete waste of time. I'm not sure. I can't think of any. Let me log into an account now and I'll take a look quickly to see if I can think of any horrendous ones that have just been a complete dance squib. But yeah, let me take a look.
Do you want me to go to Andy while you're logging on? Are you okay?
I backed fucking Lucas Brown to beat Dave Allen, and the bastard got stopped.
It's going to be Joshua Ruiz rematch, surely. Fuck. What was the question? So I just came back there, actually, to go and see the wee man there.
The worst bet.
Worst bet, Andy. Richard Allen, who asked the question, said he banged 40 notes on Audley to keep David Hay on the jab, a la Klitschko.
Well, I did put a security bet on Ricky Hatton beating Pacquiao, actually. But
Jason Chukwu says £80 on Anthony Durrell versus Badu Jack, but that's not really. I mean, they're sort of evenly matched, aren't they? Chukwu, you can't be having that one. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, a losing bet is not necessarily a bad bet. There could be reason, like you actually think the fighter will win, or there's value there because they're a massive price or something like that. That's a good one from Joe Kennedy.
Nice.
Spike O'Sullivan to go the distance against Lemieux, knocked out in 60 seconds.
Gone in 60 seconds.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Gone full Jason Statham on us. Friggin' hell.
I gambled on Makabu to beat Bellew. And
A lot of people fancied that though, didn't they?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Like I said,
The best ever bet that I had, and it's a long time ago, it was Mauro against Billy Dib. The odds for the knockout in that fight were, I could not believe it. Nobody could believe it. Something like, I can't remember, it was like either 64 or 65 for Mauro for the knockout. It was incredible money. He smashed him up like 4 or 5 rounds, whatever it was. I can remember at the time, loads just put money on that fight. Alex Smith even puts money on that fight as well, I'm sure.
There's Chris Butler, Jamie Cox to beat George Groves at 5-1. Shannon Briggs to pass a drugs test, says Zuma Harris. Never bet on Lucas Brown, they're saying, Rob.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, I don't think. I had Eamon McGee to beat Ricky Hatton. And I think I had it in the first round as well.
You were buzzing when he had him gone.
Yeah, I thought that was it, man. That was it. And then he just got up and he said, fuck all, left ready for the rest of the fight.
Then you realised he'd been drinking the night before.
Yeah. I think he realised it himself then. He was like, oh, shit. But credit to Ricky, got the job done that night. But McGee, a madman. I had that, and I did win bets against fellas if they're talking shit and they don't have a fucking clue. That way, if I see someone and he knows nothing about boxing, he's like, well, Kell Brook is actually going to destroy Errol Spence because Eddie Hearn said that. And I'd be like, all right, man. So I bet on that. So I bet like that from time to time, but normally I don't go to the bookies. I won money on Floyd versus McGregor because I absolutely knew that was going to end in a stoppage. He absolutely had to for the game. And he ate Burger King for 6 weeks and still did it. So good on him. What's going on with his daughter, by the way? Fucking hell, sorry to sidetrack you. Do you know the way the daughter fucking stabbed the fucking baby mama or her boyfriend?
Yeah.
Well, with 2 knives apparently, right? Stabbed her with 2 different knives after one made a lunge at her. But apparently now it's coming out that they're quote unquote sister wives. If you know what that is, Wellings, if you're down with that, if you're down with the sister wives, it's a kind of
what the fuck?
It's a thing in the black community in America. It seems
just because I live in a remote location.
Oh, hey. It seems to be the only instances I've heard of it are in the black community. So I don't know if it's exclusive or not. Maybe everybody's getting jiggy with it. But basically, it's like the man is the fucking dominant figure in the house, and
Steve is down with the black culture, though.
The black country community. Wives. I'm down with the black country community.
No, Steve, let's just revisit something here, because I remember you decided to fuck off to America and left me in charge of the podcast.
Yes.
And you were in some shithole in New York. Was it the fucking Frampton rematch, I think, or the first one? I can't remember.
No, that was Chinatown. Oh, Jesus.
Was that what it was? Anyway, so Mr. Wellings is coming down some fucking flea bag ridden hotel in some slum hole in New York, right? Yeah. And there's this fucking pimp having an argument with some woman, Steve.
He was a Latino, Andy. He was a Latino.
Is that what happened? So what happened to you, Steve? Tell us what happened again.
Him and the wife were having a bit of a set to, or the girlfriend having a set to, as I was coming down the concrete steps. Next thing you know, he hits her a dig in the gob. She hits the ground. He turns around to me. I'm standing there walking down the stairs thinking, oh my God, what the hell do I say here? And he just says, fucking women. And then walks off.
Bitch, please.
I was just like,
you must have a mental disease. Just resume your position and get back on your knees.
Jesus.
Some Mr. Rhymes for you there, Rob.
But anyway, sorry, I got kicked off there. No, yeah, so apparently they're down with this sister wife shit. So the guy's having his way with multiple girls, and they're all playing the role as a sister wife. So they're sisters. So it's like some R. Kelly shit, you know what I mean? Not me, but the other guy, has a bit of a cult going on, So apparently she's one of them, and the sister wives fell out and the knives came out, baby. And it's facing fucking life now. So
is it?
I made smart investments. Get fucking Jay Prince's lawyer. I don't know. He's one of fucking Mark Miracles to get this one.
If you have James Prince in your corner, I'd say all things are possible.
Yeah.
Who was it he fixed it again? Who was it?
Jesus.
Floyd. It was Floyd.
He's another level, that guy.
Floyd.
So,
Floyd, sorry, he got Floyd to get it fixed out, fuck's sake.
Yeah. The classic case of self-defense with 2 knives, 2 different knives. So, yeah. I don't know how she's going to fucking get out of that one. Not looking good for the Mayweather dynasty there. Yeah, is off the fucking list of future stars. Sister Waving and Sister Kniving.
Sister Kniving, fucking hell.
Dropping the lyrics. Yeah, I'm no rap aficionado, but James Prince is another level. Look him up if you don't know. Right, boys, anything else to add in before we go on to Belly of the Weeks?
Fighting-wise, I fuck know what's going on.
I wouldn't worry about it, Andy, because it's 10 past 10 and it's 10:15 now. Got plenty of belly of the week. So we'll just go on, shall we? Episode 370?
That
agreement?
guy's,
Why not?
that fake about billions is actually messaging you now, apparently on Twitter.
Oh, is he, right?
Want to talk about Brunos now, but hating on a fucker.
It's getting a bit late.
Don't let that fool on, man. Will you stop with that shit? Like, tell him to fucking relax. Like, that's
I'm thinking he's going to be. Do you remember that dickhead who come on before and started shouting, "Oh, mom, get shit!" I think it's going to be one of them.
He's love, mom.
He's calling us racist, though. Can we let that shit go?
Nah, it's not real, man. It's not fucking fuck off for him.
No, I think
Can't be shouting that.
Because he's going to get on. He's going to say some dumb shit. Like, we're going to have to.
YouTube might ban our asses, might just fuck him off. I don't know. We'll see anyway. We'll go on with Belly of the Weeks and then we'll take it from there. Okay, first nomination is from Sean at Sean Devlin. He says, "Who in the right mind can knock this bloke? Goes out of his way to support his followers and spends his own money doing so." He's talking, of course, about Anthony Fowler, not because he has to, because he wants to. Feedback from his loyal supporters speaks volume. Hashtag one of the good guys. Hashtag Team Machine. Judas Don Harrow has nominated Tony. "I just want to be left alone," says Tony, halfway through a TV program. This guy isn't. I'll tell you what. You see Tony, Andy, absolute parody of himself. Like, he turned up on BBC. He has a BBC Sports column now. He turned up on earlier as well.
Well, I was going to say,
he has a new chat show, doesn't he, with Eddie Hearn launching soon for a fella just wants to be left alone. Will you fucking leave him alone, Ed?
What did I say? I says to you guys, what was it, Sunday night that happened? So I messaged Mondays. I spoke to my FA, right? He's like that. Because he gives him into the box and he says, "Did you watch the SAS last night?" I says, "Nah, I didn't watch it, mate." He says, "Some scouser on there." Says, "Some ex-boxer, some hard man." He says, "I can't remember his name." He says, "He looks like a proper loonball. He's like a moon union." He says, "Oh, aye, Tony Bellew." He says, "Aye, that's who it is." He says, "He looks like a right proper hard bastard."
Forget.
He says, "He looks like a proper hard bastard." I says, "No, mate, he's just fucking chaotic, you know." I says, just mention music, but oh, fucking hell, man. I watched some of it, just, he wants to be left alone, he's getting interrogated. He's in interrogation. That's third phase, it's interrogation, the SAS. He's getting stretched out, he's getting told, look, I don't want to write a book, because I then want to talk about my early days, because, I was shifting some beak, that's... Remember that young lady who had to force to delete that tweet that she sent out accidentally one day by, you know what I'm talking about, guys. But
thing is though, how many of these things are we going to have starting? Like, Bellew seems to have started up about 4 different things in the last week. Every day I keep getting an email through Matchroom's new podcast with Eddie Hearn, of course, right in the middle of everything. And he's going to be interviewing this guy and this guy. And it's a new name. And the next day something else gets started up. I mean, Jesus.
We've never seen that one before. Tony Bellew and Eddie Hearn together. Whoa, that one's really got you rubbing your hands, hasn't it? We haven't seen that fucking 5 million times already. Fucking hell. Tony Bellew training with the SAS is in no way related to the SAS taking on ISIS, who are responsible for the bomb in Manchester. We'll never forget.
Tony ticking time bomber Bellew.
He is. I mean, I felt sorry for him a couple of weeks ago, and we're too slagging him this week, but I felt sorry for him with this lockdown with the 3 kids. So I've got 2. Steve, you've got 3, so you know what the stress levels are like with fucking at the minute. But Tony's just delivering. I think he's going to be a strong contender again this week.
Oh, he absolutely is. He's going to feature at some point. Also on the list is Rocky Fielding. "I threw more in 3 rounds with Canelo than Chavez Jr. did in 12, says Rocky Fielding. CompuBox got involved and quote tweeted it. Rocky Fielding threw 183 punches versus Canelo. Chavez Jr. threw 302 punches versus Canelo. So CompuBox basically owning him for the fact that Rocky Fielding threw 125 punches less than Chavez. So who was this? Guillermo Crittenden nominated Rocky Fielding for bullshitting and getting exposed by CompuBox. What a silly sausage. I like that one. I thought it was quite a good one. Colin Roberts has nominated all these people on BT Sports. They're doing these fantasy fights, aren't they? Anthony Joshua versus a prime Larry Holmes, a bit like we did a few weeks ago, but not as good. A prime Anthony Joshua beats a prime Larry Holmes, says Colin Roberts. What the fuck? Twatter boxing polls at its finest. Talking of BT Sports, Shuey MC has nominated Mike Tyson's former coach, Jeff Fennick, who thinks that a 53-year-old Iron Mike would, with a training camp, knocks Deontay Wilder out inside a minute. Sounds like Jeff Fenix took a few too many punches to the head there. Andy was a great fighter, but Iron Mike in a minute knocking out Wilder.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. And Fenix had a few bad business deals and recently as well. So
Didn't he get accused of stealing a watch at one point?
I can't mind, but he's been involved in some promotions that's fucking ended up costing him money. It's cost him lawsuits, more money, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but there's been something about a watch as well. But yeah, I don't know. I can't go any further into it, unfortunately.
No. Tony Bellew has been nominated yet again, turning up on the football show. Just leave him alone so he turns up for 112,000 views with Jamie Carragher on the football show, taunting him about Liverpool winning the league. He's the gift that keeps giving, isn't he? You know what it is? Anthony Fowler had a strong week last week, and there was a legitimate call for us to change it to the Fowler of the week. And Tony was like, no, not on my fucking watch, mate. And he comes straight back, firing all guns blazing.
You're fucking rat. Well, it's just while we're on the Bellew comment, see when they put him on the helicopter, that guy Middleton, he's like standing on the skids, and he just lets him go with this fucking backflips into the water and that. It's just like that moment, and you say to yourself, "That's when music landed on your fucking chin." By the way.
Babs put up a good. That was Babs, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I got to give shout out to Babs for that one.
Shout out to Babs. He's a good guy. Put some good stuff up on the old Twitter. Lee J at Lee Jordo 1 has nominated Arim Khan even. I know. Hang on. Sorry, I'm getting a bit confused here. Amir Khan, who was saying Ramazan Kareem, a month of giving, and then he put up a little picture of himself. Going to Pakistan at one point, and all the locals were getting involved here, enjoying Amir's appearance, holding up these signs saying, "Welcome, Amir Khan. Thank you, Amir Khan." And you've never did you see these? He says needs to sack the web designer for those terrible photos.
Let's go back a close second, by the way. Talk about ass kissing and just what the fuck.
One of them said, Amir Khan, let me rock you, Amir Khan.
And then he's got videos out as well. I mean, come on, think of something better.
Oh, them little photoshops were class. Microsoft Paint at their best. Windows 95 coming back with a bang. Also coming back with a bang, Gary Russell Jr. has been nominated by Marcus Bellinger, talking to BoxingScene.com. He says, Lomachenko shouldn't be number one pound for pound. He got a gift against me.
Shut the fuck up, dude. 160, 112 minimum. Easy. And I had a wee bit of doubt going into that fight, I must admit.
Well, you know, Andy, 100, that was the one time out of 100, wasn't it? The other 99 times.
Fuck.
Gary got this.
Gary got this. Gary got it up the ass. That's what happened.
Who knows? Maybe in the future. Mohamed Mir has nominated Mook the God, who's been taking art classes. What do you think? Not too bad if you ask me. He drew a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio. And yeah, it did look like Manny Pacquiao. I'm not quite sure if this guy was trolling or not, but it did not look like DiCaprio. It looked more like Manny Pacquiao. Oh, David Hay. Here's one for you, Ozzy. David Hay, considering an incredible boxing comeback, age 39, according to TalkSport's Michael Benson. Boxing Stephen Hawking here, dragging himself out the chair for one last time.
That must be a wine.
Sure. I'll come after you, Ozzy. On you go, mate. I'll come in after you. I'll end it right now.
Speaking of great comebacks, Rita Ora had a great comeback, didn't she? Pop career. Her career was great. She was going nowhere. She had a big comeback, Rita Ora.
Cracking focus. When you go, Ozzy, because I want to come in after you about Hay.
Well, I can't even believe it's even been contemplated after the farce he put on against Bellew, when it was blatantly obvious he was a shadow of his former self, and could barely walk, spar, do anything. And now he's honestly talking about a comeback, and then we only need to look at who's reported it. Fucking Pillick Benson.
Well, if Benson was in the know, right, I was flicking through Prime last night, right, and there's David Hay, some fucking program is on, it's called Risk It All, whatever it is. It's a fucking poker show, right, and he says, literally within the first 20 seconds of the show starting, my body's breaking down. I had to retire from boxing. So what the fuck is Benson talking about? Fucking fraud. He's a fucking fraud. It's on fucking, just go and watch it. It's literally like been put on there in the last 6 months, whatever it was. Say that his fucking body's finished, yet we're going to say he's got a fucking comeback. Who the fuck's going to fight? Who's going to seriously going to fucking want to fight him?
I want to see
rematch.
Yeah, the rematch with the Cobra, Arnold Churchai, or Mark Demori, the YouTube boxer. People will fill the O2 again to see that.
Yep, hey, ready to come back. His old sparring partner, his old ring adversary, Tony Bellew, has started up Hearn & Bellew, Talk the Talk, episode 1. Launch a weekly show. Begins Monday at 6 p.m. Can't wait for that. Eddie Hearn and Tony Bellew have teamed up once again, this time for a digital series, Talk the Talk. Yes, thanks very much. Don't think I'll be watching that, to be honest. Bellew of the Week nomination from Anthony Lee Shim for heavyweight sensation Tom Little. Little tweeted out, "You might say I'm a dick for saying this, but if there is any intelligence that China started this intentionally for population control, that's cause of war, because Adolf Hitler never killed this many people," says Tom Little, getting all political on Twitter. Surprising to hear it was actually deleted, I think, shortly after. So Mr. Sham has called him out on that one. David Farmer has nominated David Hay. Tony Bellew as well, for having his BBC Sports column, has also been nominated. I think that's all the ones I have here. Oh, Gavin Stevens, yes, nominating him for Talk the Talk. Tony Bellew and Eddie Hearn. He just wants to be left alone. He wants to be left alone that much. He's now doing a talk show. Duke McKenzie tweeted out the Sun newspaper's best British pound-for-pound boxers of the last 30 years. Mark Scallon jumped in. Not having David Hay as fourth, not a chance. Not even top 10. Tony Bellew should even be above him. Teddy Watson has rightly nominated him for that. No, Mark, not at all. That's all the ones I've got. Any nominations from you, Ozzy?
No, nothing from me.
Nothing from Ozzy this week. Strong lineup, actually. No, only one for Fowler. I thought I would have had more for him, Andy. Bellew's putting in a good shift, though. Any nominations from you?
No, none to me, mate. Mine's more like Bellew's and Bellew for me.
Looks like Andy's gone with Bellew already. Spoiler alert, I'm also going with Bellew, so he's off to a strong 2-0 start. First of all, nominations, Rob, before we go on to picks?
Something for the hood, Rob. Come on. Something different.
Any sister lovers or?
Yeah, it's gotta be, like, it's Hori. Yeah. You can't be stabbing your sister wife. Yeah, Mayweather. You want to relax, like, so you could be relaxing in the big house now. Orange is the new black style. And your dad will completely forget about you because he's so shallow. So it's going to be lonely. So you can't be doing that. Yeah, so strong nomination for her, but Bellew, man. He's back. He's on a football show. He's got a new weekly show with Eddie Hearn, and he's on the fucking show with the SAS.
Leave him alone.
He got a BBC column as well.
He was on Catchphrase a week ago for fucking Roy Walker or whatever. Like, relax, Bellew, man. Oh, fuck's sake. Kenny Dalglish the week before, he just nailed his tops, like, does he? Never. Oh, God. You gotta love him though, in a way.
There you are. Okay, then, Ozzy, we've all gone for Bellew. Who are you going to throw in? Is it going to be a clean sweep for Tone?
Anthony Bellew.
Bellew, absolutely.
That's why he wanted to be known by, Anthony. That's true. Remember that. Thank you, Oz.
Yeah, I'm just respecting his wishes
and
referring to him as Anthony Bellew and not Tony. Trying to leave him alone where possible.
Bow down, show respect. Because until you do it at his level, you watch and listen.
Absolutely. You can only talk about it if you've done it. You see, that's why he has an opinion on Everton each week in the Premier League.
Our party.
Karius, remember Karius after the European Cup debacle? Fuck
more with a fag than that show what the SAS does. So you know what I mean. His fucking SAS show is not worth the carrot.
Well, talking about carrots, I bet we could get more views fingering our arseholes with a carrot than he would get in an interview in the IFL, by the way. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Not up for trying it out, to be honest with you.
No, obviously no, but I can guarantee you would do fucking more numbers.
Guru,
let's take a viewers poll or something on that.
Bellew trying to get in the podcasting game. Too late, sir, too late. Also, the Guru, people asking about Guru. Yeah, the Guru's podcast burned brightly, didn't it, for 2 days? and I haven't heard from him in a while. It's a couple of weeks now without any content. Lee the Alcoholic Froch says, as I predicted, an even shorter lifespan than Shep's podcast. I'm not sure where Shep is, but you know me, Andy, I was always a fan of On Queer Street. You maybe weren't so complimentary.
Well, I'm not going to be complimentary, Steve, but you were happy to quote me earlier on during the podcast, but good to see Shep back among us. Listen to how it was done, get some ideas, maybe you actually hear the start up of the podcast again later on this week. You know, maybe see Andy Lee on that podcast. Might even see Andy Lee on Porky's podcast. Maybe even how much of the week. You never know.
You never know. Maybe Bellew will win it this week. Who knows?
Oh, what?
Right, let's close up for the evening then, shall we, gentlemen? Thank you to everybody who's come on. Glorious reappearance from Donny Baseball, giving it to everybody straight tonight. Too controversial, Donny. I had to cut him off in the end. He was getting a bit rough for me, Andy. I wasn't happy with what he was coming off with, so I had to get rid of Donny.
I've done it, you know.
Bad boy. Also, yeah, okay. Chukwu, man. What
the fuck, man? Honest to God.
Chukwu's on a bender tonight, man. I think he's been on the old. He's been on the strong stuff.
Oh, what is it? He's been on the fucking special fucking lightning, not the special brew.
He's been on the special chew, hasn't he? Special Chukwu. Right. Anyway, let's move on. And
he usually falls asleep and then.
I know. Yeah, he's made it to the end of the podcast. That's an achievement. Good old Chukwu. Right, boys. Thanks to Ozzy. Thanks to Andy. Thanks to everyone. Kelly. Thanks to Donny. Thanks to Andy Lee as well for coming on, and also Nathan Heaney. We'll catch you all again for episode 371, isn't it? Yep, next week. Same time, same place next week. I've been Steve Wellings. Boy.
Fat Smigger.